Remus Island. Yeah.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Break out some ID.
That's just good radio.
Weekdays 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Fox Sports.
And a matchup that has become an annual early season tradition between these two Division I teams from opposite ends of the state. I'm John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. We're excited to be providing high school coverage for the 10th consecutive season here on Fox Sports 1290, and very happy to be providing the audio this year for the live stream being produced by 302 Sports. We're 1 week into the 2016 season, and between the game we broadcast last week, a 49-0 blowout, St. Elizabeth over McCain, others we saw in person to help prepare for future broadcasts, and game film we watched, we learned quite a bit about a lot of different teams. As far as the two teams we'll see tonight, we learned that this year's Salesianum team as well, not much different than any other Sal's team. They're going to be tough to beat. They avenged last year's only regular season loss with an impressive 16-13 win over a very highly regarded father-judge team from Pennsylvania. It wasn't fancy, and it wasn't an overly impressive offensive performance, but as we've learned about Sally's teams over the years, what makes them impressive year in and year out is the fact that they seem to take advantage of whatever each year's team's strength is every weekend in the state of Delaware, since for the first time Coach Bill Denardo's tenure, the Sal's didn't have to travel across state lines to play. And tonight, Salesianum hosts a team that didn't get off to such a great start. In fact, quite the opposite. Caesar Rodney's coming off a disappointing 2-win season in 2015, during which their lone win against the Delaware team came against a winless Polytech squad. Second-year coach Dan Candelora's team is hoping for a better year this year, but ran into an offensive buzzsaw at Middletown, where sophomore quarterback Drew Fry tossed 6 touchdown passes to 4 different receivers in a 48-0 rout. The game was pretty much over before it started. The Riders fell behind 21-0 before many Middletown fans even had a chance to get those cowbells out of their bags, and it went downhill from there. But this Rider team has talented athletes on it. They're running an offense that's not called the Wing T for the first time that anyone I talked to can remember, and a lot of people think it's only a matter of time before this Rider team is back where it once was, when it was one of the state's top programs year in and year out. Marty, these teams have been squaring off early in the season for as long as I could find records on, and Caesar Rodney hasn't defeated Sally since 2008, which was the year the Riders won their school's only state football championship. There's no question, at least on paper, despite this being a game between two programs with a relatively rich history of football, for now at least, this is a David versus Goliath situation.
This is definitely still a David versus Goliath situation. And before I get into the game, I got to point out the temperature in the box this week is so much better than the sweat box-like conditions we had up here last week.
We're trying to figure out what we might put on next, rather than can we strip down in here, because it was
chilly
sweltering. It is chilly.
You know what? Last week we expected a pretty competitive contest. Instead, we got, like you said, 49-0, a methodical blowout by Sandy, a game that seemed to drag on forever into the second half, which was a running clock. McCain didn't crack 50 yards of totally deep. It was a tough goal. This week, our expectations for a competitive contest are far more modest, so perhaps we'll end up getting a much better game than we got last week. Recent history, though, would seem to be in the Sal's favor. Last year, CR opened with a shutout loss to a very good Middletown team, a result that was duplicated last week when the Riders got blown out 48-0 by the Cavs. Last year, CR squad followed up that loss to Middletown with a 45-20 defeat to Salesianum. So basically, the Riders have seen this movie before. They're going to be looking to flip the script. As you mentioned, CR is joining the growing number of high school teams. It seems exponential at this point, not just in Delaware, but nationally, moving to a more athlete-centric, fan-friendly spread attack, a system that helped Smyrna land its first ever D1 title last season. It's an offense that requires a great deal of precision and puts more emphasis on a quarterback's ability to read the defense. It takes time to master, and the Riders, frankly, are in the infancy stage. Sally's, as you mentioned, despite some big personnel changes, is still one of the best in Delaware, and they most likely always will be. I always say Coach Denardo never rebuilds, it just reloads, and this year is no different. The Sally's big bodies on both the offensive and defensive line routinely are going to impose their will on smaller, less talented lines, but as we saw last week against Father Judd, they're just as equally dominant against similarly sized, equally talented opponents, which may not bode well for CR tonight. Tonight they're going to look to do what they do best, which is run the ball effectively, setting up advantageous down and distance situations, where Zach Gwynn, in only his third career start, can look to get the ball to his playmakers.
All right, let's take a look at Salesianum, coached by Bill DiMartinardo. He is in his 13th year here at Sally's. That's after spending 16 years at the helm of the Middletown Cavalier program. And Marty, this is a team that has to feel good about itself after that big win in their opener, but they've also got to be careful not to look ahead to next Friday night's showdown against Smyrna, a game which many are calling the biggest in the state this year, a rematch of last year's state championship, as you mentioned, won by Smyrna, in a game we will have right here on Fox Sports 1290 and 302 Sports.
When analysts talk about trap games, this is precisely the kind of matchup we're talking about. It's only human nature for the players at Sally's to have the Smyrna game next week in the back of their minds. But Coach DiNardo and his staff have always done such a great job of keeping kids focused on what's right in front of them. The message to the team this week was, don't let next week's opponent cost us this week's game. I'd be really shocked to see the Sal's at anything less than peak performance tonight.
All right, I watched the debut of quarterback Zach Gwynn last year right here at Baynard Stadium when he was unexpectedly thrust into the game after a season-ending injury to Garrett Cannon in the semifinals against Middletown. Gwynn came in as a sophomore and managed that game perfectly, making sure to engineer the team to victory rather than trying to win it himself. And then he had a similar performance in the state championship game despite losing to Smyrna. This team is now his. It
is. Zach was so impressive as a sophomore last year. We talked about it over and over. Stepping in for senior quarterback Garrett Cannon in the state semifinals against, by the way, one of your biggest rivals and one of Delaware high school football's hallmark programs. And performing as well as he did, he showed poise far beyond his experience level. And you know what? It must have given Coach DiMardo great comfort heading into this season, knowing that Zach was able to get such extensive experience into very tense situations. Having said that, Zach really struggled last week against Father Judge. A very good team, but he struggled nonetheless. He completed only 3 of his 12 passes for 40 yards, and he really formed a laser focus on one receiver and often threw into double coverage. Not his best effort, but you have to imagine he's going to get better as time goes on. He's far from a polished product, but he's got a ton of potential.
Well, and he got pulled at one point in the second half, and I say pulled, he got taken out, and the backup quarterback came in, and then Gwynn came back in. And so you don't know whether maybe Bill DiNardo was trying to send a message that, you know what, this team is yours, but there is a backup quarterback if we need him. Either way, Gwynn will be back under center tonight as far as we know. We did put an email into Coach Bill DiNardo about that, didn't get a reply back, but it was, in his defense, it was an email this morning that I sent him, and he had a few other things on his mind returning my emails, I'm sure. All right, Sally's only scored twice last week, once on offense and once on special teams. Both times, senior split end Michael Drake was the guy involved.
Yeah, he is a real player. He's very quick, has great speed in the open field, as evidenced by that 68-yard punt return for the touchdown. And he had a really nifty 25-yard catch and run last week against Father Judge. He's a two-way talent who's going to play a key role in the Sal's defense. Twice last week he came up with big interceptions to thwart Father Judge's scoring opportunities. Along with his fellow seniors John Andreoli and Michael Leonard, the Sal's defensive backfield is going to make it very tough for rider quarterback Jared Wagenhofer to find many open spaces.
All right, the Reader era is over. Speaking of open spaces, at least here at Sally's, as both boys have taken their talents to the next level at the University of Delaware. They ran for a lot of miles here at Baynard Stadium with the shoulder pads and that gold helmet on, whether it was here or that visiting stadium somewhere else. And as talented as both they are, they couldn't have done it without an impressive offensive line all the years they were here. One of the guys who created a lot of those holes for the younger Reader, Colby, over those years, is a first-team All-State lineman. He's one of 4 returning offensive linemen for Sally's, and that's junior Randy Sinai.
Yeah, year in, year out, one of the top, if not the top strength of Salesianum teams is an offensive line. And they're not just big. One hallmark of Sally's lines over the years is their quick feet and athletic ability. And Sinai is certainly carrying on the tradition. He's 6'5", 290 pounds. He's absolutely huge, and I'm sure a somewhat intimidating presence when you look across the line now. But he can also get out and pull when needed. And though he's certainly capable in the pass defense game, he's really the kind of guy that's going to make his head getting out there as a road grader in the run game.
All right, that's a look at Salesianum. Now let's take a look at the visiting Caesar Rodney Riders. They're coached by Dan Candelora in his second year. He's a Delaware guy. He was an All-State player at Dickinson High, part of their 1980 state championship team. Went on to Delaware State, where he was a defensive lineman, defensive player of the year in the MEAC 1 year, and an All-American and a Hall of Famer. So certainly the pedigree is there from an experience standpoint on the playing side of it. This is second year after serving as an assistant under Mike Schoenwolf since 2008. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, for the first time maybe in school history, everybody I talked to said they've always played the wing T. This year they're not. Instead, it's more of what we see week to week with the quarterback lining up in the shotgun position.
You know, the spread is becoming so popular across the nation at every level. And one of the primary reasons it is that it allows teams to make better use of their best athletes. For all the evidence you need, again, look back and see what Mike Judy did at Smyrna last year. Though in fairness, the transition to a spread attack usually doesn't happen overnight with the speed and success that the Eagles experience. Safe to say that Coach Candelora will, in due time, improve dramatically upon what we saw against Middletown last week. Frankly, what we saw on film was much of what I'd expect from a program transitioning from a decades-long wing T approach to a spread. You had high snaps, you had multiple pre-snap penalties, offensive confusion, some ball security issues. Other than that, smooth sailing for CR last week. But you know what? Be patient, Rider fans. This isn't going to happen quick, but it probably will happen.
And they're athletic, and they've got a large roster, and that's what you need to rebuild a program. Jared Wagenhofer started last season as the backup quarterback, but after a few games was put into the starting role. We both saw on film that he spent most of the first game this season either handing the ball off or running away from what would be tacklers in the backfield.
You know what? I really felt his unbalancing at Jared's play last week. He was constantly under pressure. He took a ton of punishment, even taking hits after handing off, as the Middletown defense spent much of the night in the Rider backfield, sometimes beating Wagenhofer back to the back, and that's with Wagenhofer being in the shotgun. In fairness to Jared, though, it's nearly impossible to get very good at this offense so quickly. I mean, he's going to have time where he's going to, struggle. Tonight may be one of those times. It's not going to get any easier. The defense he's going to face tonight is going to be just as tough, if not tougher, than the Middletown last week. I will say this, though. Every time the kid got knocked down, he got right back up. He showed a lot of toughness, and he's only a junior, so maybe good things are coming for him.
All right, the one shiny moment for the Riders last week came when Nigeria Wills had a 55-yard kickoff return but came up just short of reaching the end zone. Unfortunately, the Riders couldn't punch it in. But, Marty, as we saw on film, that burst of speed shown by Will sort of sums up the Riders' skill position players they're very fast and they're very athletic.
They are, and that really is the silver lining for this program right now. As I said, the goal of the spread is to put the ball in the hands of your best athletes. CR is still working on mastering the getting it to them part, but they definitely do have some athletes. Willis, running back Najee Whitted, and wide receiver Dominic Cruz are some of the players with great speed and athletic ability. This Rider team could make some noise later this season, maybe play a spoiler role if they can get the O-line situated. That's a big part of their effort right now, and allow Wagenhofer some time to run the offense.
All right, that's a take look at both teams. Coming up, Marty and I will take a look at the preseason coaches poll. Actually, it's the Week 1 coaches poll this week, Division 1 and Division 2. You're listening to the Game of the Week here on Fox Sports 1290 AM and watching it live on 302 Sports.
The postseason race is powering up Birdland, and the best way to guarantee your ticket to the drama of an Orioles October is by placing a deposit on a 2017 season plan. .com/postseason to place your deposit on any full or partial plan and guarantee your opportunity to buy tickets to this year's postseason. Deposits must be made by Monday, September 26th to guarantee access. Visit Orioles.com/postseason now to secure your spot.
If your child ever asks, where do sandwiches come from? Tell them the truth. Look them straight in the eyes and tell them, sandwiches come from Arby's. And if they ask where the loaded Italian and its many meats come from, kindly respond, what part of Arby's didn't you understand, Giuseppe? The loaded Italian sandwich. Arby's, we have the meats.
Area's largest football. Concord Pet Foods and Supplies with 29 locations was started here in Delaware by Larry Muchler 35 years ago. Experience the difference at Concord Pet. Their outstanding staff will help you with everything your pet needs. Plus, the frequent buyer program allows you. Go Hens!
Delaware High School Football Game of the Week pregame show on Fox Sports 1290. Delaware sports play here.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. Benny Pinella back in the studio keeping us up and running. And welcome to our viewers on 302 Sports, the live stream of tonight's action. We're about 15 minutes away from the start to kick off between Salesianum and Caesar Rodney. And Marty, let's take a look at this week's Delaware Interscholastic Football Coaches Association Fox Sports 1290 Coaches Top 10 poll in both Division I and Division II. And as always, we want to thank our friend Robert Reed for his help gathering the votes for this weekly poll. A lot of work goes into that, Marty, and it's not just you and me picking out of a hat who should be it. This is the coaches voting on the top 10. All right, no surprises anywhere in the top 5, I don't think. All 5 teams won. Smyrna, Middletown, Sally's, Concord, and William Penn 1 through 5. I'm not sure we learned a whole lot about any of those teams, to be honest with you. Smyrna with a big win over Delcastle. Middletown with a big win, and 6 touchdowns against this Caesar Rodney team. Sally's probably where you learned the most about. They had a tough game against Father Judge. We weren't there, but it was excruciating to follow. And then William Penn narrowly beat a St. George's team, and I'll let you talk, and then I'll mention I was at that William Penn St. George's game, but go ahead and give me your thoughts on the top 5.
I think no big changes. Like you said, everybody kind of had a somewhat easy game last week, except for Salesianum, which played a really good Father Judge team. It would have been interesting to see if Alex Barker had stayed healthy at Caravel, how that game with Concord would have played out. It was a close game for a long time. Barker looked really good, according to everything I've heard. And just a little interesting note, Caravel will be playing Elkton tonight, which is where the backup quarterback to Alex Barker would have been. Jason Argo is not at Elkton. William Penn, again, they pulled out a close game. They showed they can win that close game. This was a game, like you said, that was expected to be a much bigger margin than it ended up being.
Yeah, and I was at that St. George's William Penn game, and you asked me how it went, and I told you that I thought the offense looked completely flustered. And I think Coach Marvin Dooley would say the same thing. I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say if he was sitting here next to me. The defense looked spectacular, absolutely spectacular. They're big, they're fast, and I don't know how St. George's scored against them. That's how good they are. But some news out of William Penn today: Zach Burton signed with the University of Virginia, and unlike a lot of commitments, this one is a legitimate signing.
This is legitimate. This is a new rule, fairly recent, the NCAA instituted. If you're going to graduate early and join your program, Zach Burton announced that he's going to graduate William Penn on December 16th. That'll be his last day. He'll then enroll in January so he can go through spring practice with the Virginia Cavaliers and Coach Bronco Mendenhall. It's designed to give kids another opportunity throughout the spring to get better, so when they show up in the fall, they've already started academically and athletically.
And I like that rule. I don't like the February signing, because if I'm a kid who, just because I'm not finishing early, I've got the weight of that on my shoulders, because you can verbally commit all you want until they still offer you that first week in February and you sign. There's no commitment.
No, not
the
at all.
commitment literally is just verbally, and that's player to school and school to player. Both parties can back out, and we've seen that happen year after year to a lot of players, not only here in Delaware, but around the country. So congratulations to Zach Burton. Of course, his brother plays at Ball State. Frank Burton, we saw him play and broadcast several of his games over the years. So that's the top 5, no change from last week. Also, Sussex Tech coming in at 6, Sussex Central coming in at 7, Apo at 8, Mount Pleasant and Cape flip-flop 9 and 10, and so that is the only change in Division 1. Marty, any thoughts on 6 through 10 there?
No, I think we're kind of curious to see how Apo does against Smyrna tonight. That's a big game down there. Within the first minute, Nolan Henderson has already thrown a 50-yard touchdown to Will Knight to make it, and they ran for 2-point conversion, so it's already 8-0 less than a minute into the game. So we've all seen that show before.
So that'll be interesting. Mount Pleasant also is a question mark. They're playing at Newark. Newark lost Barry Zender's opening game to St. Mark's last week. That will be an interesting contest. Nobody thinks Mount Pleasant is as good as they were last year when they made the playoffs for the first time in decades. I think it was 1983 the last time they won the playoffs. And so, good for them. It'll be interesting to see. Randy Holmes is a good coach. They've got a lot of athletes, as we've seen in their basketball program. A lot of them play football. A lot of them play track and are on state championship part of that. They didn't win a state championship, but have state championship caliber runners. So it'll be interesting to see how they are. All right, let's roll over to Division II. Woodbridge took over the number 1 seed that was held by Caravel. They dropped 6 spots. I think losing Alex Barker was a big part of that. He was supposedly a so-called big-time quarterback, and broke his ankle or tore 3 ligaments in his ankle, and is lost for the season. He hopes to be back for the baseball season. I talked to John Reed, and of course it's a devastating loss, but John Reed's number 1 goal is to keep Barker involved in the program. He said he's a great kid, he did a great, he was great to have around the team, and he wants to continue to do that. A lot of people have big expectations for Woodbridge, and they opened up with a nice win, 33-12, over a Dover team that has a new head coach. And anytime you've got a Division I team versus a Division II team, you've got a city school like Dover with a big population against Woodbridge, which most people don't know where that is in the state of Delaware or how to get there. You certainly wouldn't with
like
your
4
sense of
hours
direction.
away from here.
Exactly. And so, anyway, the big win for Ed Manlove and the Woodbridge Raiders.
That's a huge win for Woodbridge to start the season, because you're right. Most of Delaware looks at Woodbridge and says, they're not going to do anything special. They might put together a few wins against some lower Delaware teams, but they really do have a good team. They're getting a lot of message board love this year, so that's going to be interesting to see if Coach Manlove can keep that role going.
Glasgow, a dominating win over Seaford. They've got to make sure they don't do what they did last year and blew a game to McCain by 2 points. Shannon Riley told me earlier in the week he's got his team focused. This game's one they circled on their schedule as soon as last season's upset happened there. St. George's at number 3. I think they looked a lot better than a lot of people thought against William Penn. Hodson and St. Elizabeth. Marty, how real is this St. Elizabeth team? We saw a blowout here. Are they a 49-point team better than a lot of other teams?
You know what? I don't think they are right now. I think they may be there at some point. We're going to learn something. They had the long bus ride down to Laurel tonight. They're playing right now against the Laurel Bulldogs, but I think we're going to learn from St. E's what they have over the next couple of weeks. They've got some tough games. That McCain team just didn't have it together last week. There was a lot of problems, and so I don't know that we learned a lot. We expected a pretty decent game, and of course got a big blowout.
All right, Delaware Military Academy, not sure we learned a lot. They beat Wilmington Charter 42-7. Wilmington Charter's probably not going to win a whole lot of games here in Division I. Caravelle we already talked about. Friends is 1-0, 49th season for Bob Tattersall. He's now got the state best 292 wins. They're going to Academy of New Church in Pennsylvania. We don't know anything about Academy of New Church, so we're not going to know a whole lot more. You can hear the Sally's team running onto the field here. This is their home stadium at Baynard Stadium. Archmere number 9. They were not ranked last week. Tatnall number 10. Here's the interesting thing. Howard, 44-16 lost to Archmere. There's your defending state champions out of the top 10 in the first week.
That was shocking. Not so much that Archmere won, because Archmere finished the season as one of the hottest teams in the state last year. Unfortunately, they'd gotten off to a 1-5 start, so that was really too much to overcome to make the playoffs. But you had to think that Howard thought they were coming out defending champions. They'd get if not thinking they had the win, at least know they'd be competitive in that game. Instead, Archmere blows them out. Just a big, interesting decision there. And just one thing about Delaware Military Academy, talk about the art of great scheduling. You pick a Division I team, which is worth 6 points, by the way, and you pick Wilmington Charter, which, like you said, is probably not going to win many games. That's a big win right off the bat in the column for Delaware Military Academy.
It is. Mike Ryan doing a nice job there at DMA. All right, that's a look at our top 10 coaches polls. Once again, thanks to Robert Reed for putting that together for us. It's now time for the DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Senior Player to Watch. The DFRC, the Delaware Foundation, reaching citizens with intellectual disabilities. This year marks the 62nd annual DFRC Blue Gold All-Star football game at Delaware Stadium. We'll have the coverage for you as we've done every year for the past several years. For more information, visit dfrcfoundation.org. And this week's DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Senior Player to Watch is Michael Drake, senior wide receiver and defensive back. Provided all the offense for the Sows in last week's win. He hauled in a 20-yard touchdown pass from Zach Gwynn to put the Sows on the scoreboard first, and then in the third quarter scored what would end up being the game-winning touchdown on a 68-yard punt return for a touchdown. Salesianum senior Michael Drake is our DFRC Blue Gold Player to Watch. And that brings us to our Arby's Weekly Picks. Arby's, we've got the meat. Marty, your thoughts from tonight's game?
This is really going to be an uphill slog for the Riders. They just don't have the experience in this new offense to operate it efficiently enough right now to knock off a big, fast, talented Sally squad. For Sally's, while they certainly aren't going to take this game lightly, the game does represent an opportunity to work out some of the kinks they showed last week. It's another opportunity for Gwynn and the offense to get more reps running the system against an opponent that probably won't offer the same resistance as Father Judge. And just one strategic note, watch for Sally's to make some noise in the kicking game tonight, especially in the punt game defensively. I have Salesianum 41-13.
All right, as much as I'd like to see a good old-fashioned shootout between these two rivals, I just don't see it. I think it's still going to take some time for the CR players to get used to this new offense, and so the Riders are going to struggle to score. That being said, the Riders do have athletes on the defensive side of the ball and should be able to contain the Sally's offense with more success than last week's game when the Cavs scored 6 touchdowns against them. But the key is going to be not to give up quick early touchdowns like they did last week against Middletown. I don't think the game's going to be a nail-biter, but I also don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'll take the Sal's 35-12. All right, coming up next, we'll take a look at some of the top games on tap this week as week number 2 of the high school football season kicks off across the First State. You're listening to the Glasgow Medical Aid Unit's pregame show on Fox Sports 1290 and streaming live on 302 Sports.
The seasons are changing, and fall at Willie Farms, Route 13 Towns End, means a large variety of local apples, including Honeycrisp and Gala, local pears and peaches. Start your fall decorating with pumpkins and gourds, plus beautiful mums in a wonderful selection of colors, in lots of sizes, too. Brand new this year, fall weather plants in 12-inch hanging baskets. Willie Farms, Route 13 Towns End, an easy drive from Newark or Wilmington.
Grab your business cards and get ready to be part of the biggest business mixer of the year on Wednesday, September 21st. Hi, this is Christine Sowers, president of your Better Business Bureau serving Delaware. Join your BBB and the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, along with 700 others from the business community, for a night of networking, prizes, and fun. Plus, you can test your political IQ by taking part in a straw poll. This free event at the Chase Center on September 21st is presented by Diamond State Door. For more information, visit bbb.org/Delaware. Mark your calendars today.
Hello, Alan Thicke here. Stop me if you've heard this one. Actually, don't. It's important. Last year, when people fell behind in their tax payments, they called Optima Tax Relief and took advantage of the Fresh Start initiative. Well, this year, Optima has raised the bar with their Protection Plus Clean Slate program. Pay the IRS the minimum amount, not a penny more. Optima, they're number 1, A-rated at the Better Business Bureau. Optima Tax Relief is the one you need.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033.
Optima Tax Relief. This is the Glasgow Medical Aid Unit's pregame show on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and 92.9 WRDX HD2.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium, where we are getting set for tonight's national anthem. It's a 70-degree night, quite a bit different than last week. When we come back, it's time for kickoff. Sally's versus Caesar Rodney. You're listening to the Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week and watching it live on 302 Sports.
The Beatles, live at the Hollywood Bowl, their only official live album. Remixed, remastered, and now with 4 bonus tracks. Experience the Beatles phenomenon live. The perfect companion to the Ron Howard film 8 days a week, The Touring Years.
Streaming exclusively on Hulu. The Beatles, live at the Hollywood Bowl, available everywhere.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With the call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995 for free information. 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995.
Grab your business cards and get ready to be part of the biggest business mixer of the year on Wednesday, September 21st. Hi, this is Christine Sowers, president of your Better Business Bureau serving Delaware. Join your BBB and the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, along with 700 others from the business community, for a night of networking, prizes, and fun. Plus, you can test your political IQ by taking part in a straw poll. This free event at the Chase Center on September 21st is presented by Diamond State Door. For more information, visit bbb.org/Delaware. Mark your calendars today.
Pest control for your business from Royal Pest. Since 1976, Royal Pest has protected your home and family from pests. Our dedicated certified pest tax also can protect your business. Royal Pest will keep you regulatory compliant. We provide complete documentation on site and online access to all of your services. Our focus is satisfaction and safety. Let us protect your business. Royal Pest, planet-friendly solutions to your pest problems.
Everybody's got their own burger, their very own mouth-watering handheld calling card that says, "Now this is me." You got chili heads and bacon banditos. There's those that like them cheesy and those that like them light and breezy. No matter your burger, Fuddruckers has it. Starting with 100% USDA premium cut beef and fresh baked sesame seed buns. You can top it, sculpt it, perfect it with all your favorite toppings from our Build Your Own bar. Go ahead, name it. We got it. Fuddruckers, the world's greatest hamburgers.
The area's largest family-owned and operated pet supply store is proud to support University of Delaware Blue Hens football. Concord Pet Foods and Supplies with 29 locations was started here in Delaware by Larry Muchler 35 years ago. Experience the difference at Concord Pet. Their outstanding staff will help you with everything your pet needs. Plus, the frequent buyer program allows you to earn free food, litter, and more. It's Concord Pet Foods and Supplies. Online at ConcordPetFoods.com. Go Hens!
Hi, this is Tom Suter of Crown Trophy in People's Plaza, and I'm a proud supporter of high school football and basketball on Fox Sports 1290 AM. Crown Trophy is the supplier of the weekly Fox Sports Player of the Game Award. If it's trophies you need, Crown Trophy has them in every shape, style, and finish imaginable. Come see us in Newark and Wilmington, and also at crowntrophy.com. Crown Trophy, the official supplier of the Delaware High School State Championship Trophy and proud partner of Fox Sports 1290 AM.
This is the 10th anniversary season of high school football on Fox Sports 1290. And now, the Delaware High School Football Game of the Week.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan, Benny Pinella back in the studio. And, of course, we are live on the live stream with 302 Sports. Salesianum against Caesar Rodney. Sally's is 1-0. Caesar Rodney 0-1 before tonight's matchup. Sally's has won the toss, and they have chosen to receive. And so it will be Caesar Rodney kicking off. And it's Joe Delgado who will be kicking off for the Riders. They are in their white jerseys, gold pants, and gold helmets, moving right to left as we see it, or south to north if you're familiar with the situation here at Baynard Stadium. Sally's in their traditional home black jerseys, or I should say navy blue jerseys with the gold helmets and gold pants. And so we are set for kickoff here at Baynard Stadium. Delgado is ready. Back to receive for Sally's is Desmond Bailey and Michael Drake, and it's a little pooch kick, and it's taken by Mike Donardo there, the coach's son. He's at the 40, 45, 51 man to beat, cross the 40, 35, 30, and dragged out of bounds there by Joseph Delgado, the kicker. If not for him, Donardo would have taken it to the house.
You know what, John? There was actually an odd look to that. Caesar Rodney, the kicker, sent off a pooch kick. The Caesar Rodney team did not look like they expected it. A lot of them ran straight down the field as if it was going deep, and they ended up running right past Michael Donardo, who just bolted. He never really moved out of the straight line there. Nice job by the kicker to finally bring him down, but not the start CR wanted.
Looked about like a 45-yard kickoff return. It's going to be 1st and 10 for Sally's on the CR21 in their traditional I formation. Gwynn drops back, and he's looking flushed out of the quarterback, rolls to the right, and he's going to scamper out of bounds, and he's forced out of bounds there by Tyrone Suarez. So he's actually going to lose about 2 yards, looks like.
That's a positive sign for the Caesar Rodney defensive backfield, and frankly, it's a positive sign for Zach Gwynn. Last week, I don't remember a single time where he dropped back where he didn't throw it, even when he was under pressure. That time, he tucked it down, got himself out of bounds, and I'm guessing that's something they may have talked about with him during the week.
So it is going to bring up a 3rd and 12 at the CR 23-yard line. I'm sorry, 2nd and 12 at the 23-yard line. I formation, wide receivers on both sides. Drake on the right, Donardo on the left. Two backs in the backfield, and the give is to Merlino, and he basically gets back to the line of scrimmage, going to bring up a 3rd and 10.
Nice job by the CR line. They showed blitz there, kind of got the Sally's linemen on their heels, and so far a good start. If you're Caesar Rodney head coach Candeloro, your defense is coming out, and aside from the kick return, which you can't do anything about now, they're doing a really nice job defensively.
Big play here for Caesar Rodney, 3rd and 10 on the 21. Would send a big message here if they can stop Sal's and force them to probably go for it on 4th down. I formation, 2 wide receivers to the right. That's Donardo and Drake from the right hash mark. Quick drop out to the side, gets it to DeMarnardo, and he's hauled down at the, looks like they're going to mark it at about the 15-yard line, going to bring up a 4th and down. So a quick out pass didn't quite work.
No, that's a nice job by the CR defense again. Last week against Middletown, their corners played so far off the line, sometimes giving 10 and 12 yards a cushion. This time they look like they've moved up a little bit, and it saved them a first down there.
So it's going to bring up a 4th and 5, maybe 4.5 from about the 16-yard line here. We're just started, 10:36, 10:35 to play. 2 wide receivers out to the left. That's Drake and DiNardo. Split backs in the backfield. Gwynn drops back. He's looking left, looking into the end zone. Fires into the end zone. Has Drake in and out of his hands. A nice defensive play there by Julian Trammell to make sure that Drake couldn't come up with it after it tipped off his hands. Turnover to the Riders.
Yeah, Michael Drake will tell you he should have had that one, but you're right. That was a tipped ball, kind of hard to come up with. A nice throw, by the way, by Zach Gwynn, maybe a tad behind the receiver. But overall, a great defensive stand from Caesar Rodney. I mean, if you're looking to start the game in a positive fashion defensively, you can't do much better than that.
So that's going to give them the ball on the 16-yard line. The Riders, no score here, 10:20 left to play in the first quarter. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. And it's Jared Wagenhofer who is in under center in the shotgun position. They're not running the wing tee for the first time in forever. He fakes it around, and the handoff goes to Whitted up the middle, and he's taken down at the 21-yard line, so a pickup of about 4.
You know, Coach Candelora sent us a note today, just said that they run a spread wing tee, he likes to call it. And you actually, that was the first time since I didn't see it on tape last week, the first time there were elements of the wing tee in there with motion, with a split back coming across the line before he handed it off to Whitted.
So it's going to bring up a 2nd and 5 from the 21-yard line for CR. Taking a lot of time getting out of the huddle here. They're on the left hash mark, moving right to left as we see it. Wagenhofer is in the pistol formation, and he's got Whitted behind him. 2 wide receivers out to the right. 1 Bowie is right out here in front of us to the left. Long snap count, and it looks a little razzle-dazzle there, and the handoff's around the left side. That's Wills, and he gets taken down at the 25-yard line. Depending on the spot, it looks like the guy closest to us, they might have the first down.
They may have the first down. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not. Wagenhofer turned around. If it was not on purpose, he sold that brilliantly because he turned around as if he expected Whitted to take that handoff and then gave it to Willis. A nice job, and looks like they're
they're moving the chains, but they haven't changed the first down marker. But they did stop the clock, so there we go. First down, so that's a huge play for this Caesar Rodney offense. First down on the 26-yard line. Wills goes in motion this time. The fake is to him, and they hand it off to Whitted, who gets barreled up, and he's going to lose about 4 yards back to the 21-yard line.
Yeah, that just took way too long to develop. The Sally's defensive line is going to put too much pressure on for Wagenhofer to stand back there, wait for the motion man to come through, fake the handoff, and then give it to Whitted. There's just not enough time. Sally's defense is too big, too quick to get there.
Whitted had 7 carries last week for only 29 yards, did have 1 fumble and 1 reception for 17 yards. So he was a lot of their offense because they didn't have much offense, 149 total yards. Going to bring up a 2nd and looks like 14. Wills goes in motion again. The fake is to him. It looks like a botched play, and Wagenhofer gets flushed out, and he's going to get taken down for the sack. They're going to mark it at about the 22-yard line. So after that first down, Marty, they've done nothing but go backwards.
Yeah, you know what? They did the same thing where it was a fake to Whitted as he came across the formation and then tried to hand it off to Wills, but smartly Wagenhofer held on to it. They're not going to be able to run that play. It just takes too long to develop in the backfield.
All right, we've got an injury on the field. We're going to take our first time out. We've got no score here. 8:18 to play. Sally's NCR. We'll be right back.
Want to watch high school sports live? Go to 302sports.com. Each week, we will be live streaming high school sporting events to our 302 Sports YouTube channel. Go to our homepage and click live stream to join our 302 Sports channel to see our upcoming schedule. What are you waiting for? Join today for the best coverage of high school sports in Delaware. 302 Sports. Don't miss the action. All Delaware, all sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 302 Sports.
From 2007 to 2016, 10 seasons of high school football on Fox Sports 1290 and foxsports1290am.com.
3rd and 19, Wagenhofer takes the snap, gives it to Wills, who comes right in front of him. He's trying to scamper around the right side. He's got some move across the 30 to the 35, 40, 1 man to beat. Across midfield, he cuts back to the 40, 30, 20, and he dragged down, and the ball is loose, but I think they're going to call him down. But what a run by Wills on a 3rd and 19 down play all the way into Sally's territory. They're going to mark it at the Sally's 25-yard line.
You know what? That was 2 great individual efforts. First of all, Willis to get out of there at all and turn the ball upfield. And then, John, he had a 10 to 15-yard lead, and that was Josh Patrick, the speedster, 6'2", 225-pound linebacker for Sally's, who ran him down.
He came from nowhere. 1st and 10 at the 25, moving right to left. Wagenhofer takes the snap. He looks out to the side, and he finds Whitted, and he gets dropped there. Nice tackle there by Stradley, but a pickup of about 2.
And that is precisely how this offense is supposed to work. Wagenhofer lures the defensive end in, waits for the pass, and then hits Whitted out on the flat.
So a little bit of a confusion when they've tried to run the ball.
Yes.
Well, they've been very successful when he drops back. I mean, he had a touchdown. Drake dropped the ball, and so he's done well when he's had to drop, when he's been able to drop back and have some time, which he didn't have against Middletown last week. 2nd and 8, ball on the 23-yard line. This time they pitch it in the backfield, and scampers around the end and knocked out of bounds finally. That was James Holmes getting his first carry of the night, and they're going to mark it about 2 yards shy of the first down on the 17-yard line.
Yeah, the junior James Holmes coming out of the backfield for his first carry. A really nice job again. The offensive line is actually starting to assert themselves a little bit when the play develops quickly, not when they wait in the backfield. When they don't waste any time, the offensive line is holding just long enough.
3rd and 2. They're marking it on the 23-yard line. Ball on the left hash mark. So that's the short side of the field. Wagenhofer takes the snap from the shotgun. He drops back, and now he's going to scamper up the middle and slides and picks up the first down. So a heady play by the junior Wagenhofer.
There is a flag down on the play. I have a feeling this may come back, but a nice job by Wagenhofer. That's the design of the spread offense, to open up that middle of the field. He couldn't find anybody, pulled it down and ran.
First penalty of the night. It looks like a chop block against CR.
And that's a big 15-yarder.
And so that's going to drop them back quite a bit. So we'll see what Coach Candeloro pulls out here. Now, the CR huddle's not moving back. Maybe they haven't figured out they got 15 more yards. They need to walk backwards. Here they go.
And that's a shame, because this has been a really good drive for CR. And, of course, anybody who's listening, the chop block is when an offensive lineman cuts below the knees on another defensive lineman that's already engaged with someone else.
And that can happen, especially the longer that your quarterback takes to get rid of the ball.
That's exactly it. It's not always on purpose, but it's in there for safety reasons.
So that's going to bring up a 3rd and 16. Ball on the 31-yard line. Again, no score here. 6:15 to play in the first quarter. Sally's and Caesar Rodney. Wagenhofer has Whitted in the backfield. It looks like another botched play on the attempted handoff, and Wagenhofer is taken down by about 4 Sally's players.
Yeah, and actually James Holmes turned right around and threw his arms up to the staff on the Caesar Rodney side. That was clearly a mistake. This is what we saw a lot on film against Middletown last week. And again, we need to keep pointing out, this is a brand new offense. They're not used to running this, so they're still working out the kinks clearly.
4th and 16, ball on the Sally's 33-yard line, and so that is going to bring in Joe Delgado, who will be punting away. Drake is back, as is Leonard for Andy Oley. It's a botched snap, and so now Delgado is running for his life. He throws a little flutter pass, tries to get it out there to James Holmes, but the ball is no good. So that could have been a lot worse than it was, Marty.
You know what? I hate to say I told you so, but in the pregame, the kicking game I thought would play a role. Caesar Rodney really struggled in the punt game last week, and twice they had bad snaps. That's exactly what happened here. This was not Delgado's fault. The snap went over his head, and he actually did a nice job. As a coach, you want to tell him he needs to punt when he gets the edge there instead of looking to pass it to someone. But that's a kid who's running for his life.
So with 5:22 to play, Sally's has the ball back for their second possession. They're going to start on their own 33-yard line. They, of course, had the one big play, the kickoff return, and after that, their offense pretty much sputtered at that point. I formation. That's Mullen, who's the up back, and he gets the call and barrels ahead for about 4 yards. Going to bring up a 2nd and 6.
Already, compared to how they played last week, the Caesar Rodney linebackers are being a lot more aggressive at the snap than they were. They waited a long time. I don't know if it's because they knew Drew Fry was so capable of throwing the ball, but they're much more aggressive in getting to the line, stopping, closing up those gaps before the Sally's runners can hit.
2nd and 6, ball on the 37-yard line. 2 wide receivers to the right, I formation. Merlino is the back this time, all in the front, and it goes to Merlino, and he barrels over the left tackle and is going to pick up just shy of the first down. It looks like he's going to bring up a 3rd and 1. They're going to mark it on the 42-yard line.
And Merlino is a 6'2", 175-pound junior. He ran for 73 yards on 22 carries last week. He was Sally's biggest ball carrier. In the game, frankly, it didn't feature a lot of offense against Father Judge, but just enough to get the win.
You know, Merlino looks like that typical Sally's back that's not named Reader.
Exactly.
You know, he's not big, he's not powerful, but he picks up 4 or 5 yards every time he touches the ball and can also break it for a touchdown. All right, that's going to bring up a 3rd and short. Merlino gets the call and does exactly what we talked about, but he fumbles the ball. The ball is loose. It's kicked around, and Sally's comes up with it, and they're going to be pushed out. A couple guys had a shot there. I think that was finally Desmond Bagley who came up with the ball. Nice hands by him. That ball was bouncing around.
Desmond Bagley was Johnny on the spot on that one, and the CR coaches, when they see this on film, are going to go crazy because they committed the cardinal rule of trying to pick it up and run with it instead of falling on the ball, and actually ended up getting about another 8 or 9 yards from the fumble. So a nice turn of events there for your Sally's, not so for CR.
First down, they're in CR territory at the 47-yard line, I formation. Mullen is the up back. Merlino is the back. Man goes in motion right to left, and the give is to Mullen, and he powers his way. Peyton Mullen still dragging tacklers until he crosses the first down, and it's going to bring up another first down, and they're going to mark it at the 36-yard line. So great job there by Peyton Mullen.
It was a nice job. And, you know, I point out one of the big guys, number 73, Sean Keating, 6'2", 265-pound senior, just absolutely blew, hit the opposite lineman and one linebacker right out of the way, opening up the hole for that run for Salesianum.
Going to bring up a 1st and 10 at the 36. No score, 3:30 to play here in the first quarter. Salesianum with the ball in Caesar Rodney territory. It's a fake to Merlino, almost like a naked bootleg, and Gwynn comes around the side across the 30, 25, dragged down from behind, but not until he picks up another. Sally's first down. They'll mark it at the 18-yard line.
And that's what happened. You talk about before, a guy like Merlino who gets 4 or 5 yards every clip. The Caesar Rodney defense has seen that now, so he fakes the handoff. Gwynn yanks it back down, comes around the end. A great job reading the defense there by Gwynn.
And so they're doing a nice job here on offense after their only offense the last series. Their first series was on the big kickoff return by DiNardo. They basically got shut down after that. They put together a nice drive here that started at the 33-yard line. 1st and 10. Ball lined up on the right hash mark, I formation. The give is to Merlino. He barrels right up the middle to the 15-yard line where he's brought down there by William Burke.
Nice job by William Burke there, clogging up the middle of the line. Sally's is starting to have their way on the offensive line. That time, Burke was able to hold his own enough to bring down the ball carrier.
That's going to bring up a 2nd, and we'll call it 7 from the 15-yard line. Ball on the right hash mark. Sally's moving left to right. No score as we approach the 2-minute mark here in the first quarter from Baynard Stadium. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. I formation, Gwynn under center. Hahn goes in motion from left to right, and the give is to Merlino again. He follows Hahn's block, gets around the edge, but is brought down there just shy of the 10-yard line. Tackle by Tyrone Suarez.
Merlino is so quick getting to that edge. A great block by Hahn to spring him. Now you're starting to see the Sally's offense really mix it up, something they didn't do in that first possession.
Well, already Caesar Rodney is off to a much better start than they were last week at Middletown when they gave up 21 first-quarter points. They may get out of this quarter not giving up any points, 1:50 to play. Worst-case scenario, it might be 3 or 7, which Coach Dan Candelora will take.
No, you can't argue with that at this point.
3rd and 2.5 from, we'll call it the 11-yard line. I formation, Hahn in motion from right to left, now cuts back to the right. The give is to Merlino. He follows Hahn's block, barrels up the middle, and depending on the spot, might have the first down. This one's going to be close.
Another example of the Sally's line just really getting a nice push, followed by Hahn. They're really starting to, this is something I kind of thought watching the tape last week. Middletown really wore down the Caesar Rodney defensive line. Still early in the game, but you can already see Sally starting to impose their will in this drive.
All right, he did not pick up the fourth down, but it's fourth and less than a yard. The ball is marked on the 9-yard line. A lot of time coming out of the huddle for Sally's. 1 minute to play, first quarter, no score. I formation. Mullen is the up back. Merlino the back. Hahn goes in motion to the right, or to the left, keeps going. Gives to Mullen up the middle. He breaks a couple tackles, gets flipped at the 2-yard line, but most importantly, picked up the first down.
Yeah, and I think the Caesar Rodney ball carrier hit him with his head and flipped him into the air. That's a tough tackle there. The player, he did get back up. Yeah, nice job by Salesianum. I mean, that's something. Peyton Mullen is so strong. He's got a low center of gravity, and giving it to him on the inside handoff. Very smart play for Sally. Something they used pretty effectively last week as well.
It looked like the medical staff for Caesar Rodney was rushing out onto the field. They must have seen the same thing you saw, and they turned right around and went back. So, fortunately, everybody's okay. Ball lined up right in the middle of the 2 hash marks. It is first and goal. Ball on the 3-yard line to give us to Merlino over right tackle, and he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Sally's.
There you go again, the offensive line getting a really strong push 2-3 yards down. Then Merlino just barreled into his man, knocked him backwards into the end zone. That is a Bill DiNardo drive for a touchdown if you're Salesianum. That's what they've done throughout his entire tenure here.
And so a nice job by the line. Nicholas Merlino knocking it in from 3 yards out to give Sally's a 6-0 lead. Cooper Urban will be on to attempt the extra point. 29 seconds left here in the first quarter. Sally's with a 6-0 lead. Holding the ball will be Matthew Freese, one of the quarterbacks on this Sally's team. It is down. The southpaw kicker's kick is up, and it is good. So, with 29 seconds to play here at Baynard Stadium, Salesianum has struck first. They lead Caesar Rodney 7-0. We'll be right back. You're listening to Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Everybody's got their own burger, their very own mouth-watering handheld calling card that says, "Now this is me." You got chili heads and bacon banditos. There's those that like them cheesy and those that like them light and breezy. No matter your burger, Fuddruckers has it. Starting with 100% USDA premium cut beef and fresh baked sesame seed buns. You can top it, sculpt it, perfect it with all your favorite toppings from our Build Your Own bar. Go ahead, name it. We got it. Fuddruckers, the world's greatest hamburgers.
Welcome back to the Delaware High School Football Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium. Salesianum has struck first, but it took almost the entire first quarter to do so. They lead 7-0. Nick Merlino with a 3-yard touchdown run capped an impressive 67-yard drive. Cooper Urban getting ready to kick it off. The lefty booms it deep, and it's taken by Najir Wills at the goal line to the 5. He's cutting around to the right. Now he cuts back up the middle and escapes a couple tackles, fumbles the ball, but it looks like the Riders have recovered and will take over on the 15-yard line. You got a few scores for us.
I do from out of town. Glasgow not making the same mistake they did against McCain last year, 22-0 in the first. Smyrna with a 24-7 lead over Appo in the second. And Woodbridge defending that number 1 ranking, 35-0 at the end of 1 over Polytech.
All righty. And actually that game is now 41-0 Benny Pinnell, our producer, just sent me that update, so he's on top of it as well as we are. And that's how quickly Woodbridge is scoring against a Polytech team that went winless last year. All right, Caesar Rodney has the ball with just 21 seconds left to play here. 1st and 10 on their own 15-yard line. Whitted's in the backfield. Wagenhofer in the shotgun position, drops back and wings it out. Incomplete. And he was trying to hit his man out there. Peyton Lavender will bring up a 2nd down, 17 seconds left to play here in the quarter.
Nice job by that Salesianum backfield led by Andrioli and Drake. One thing, Wagenhofer is actually getting a little bit more time. That time he did have time to throw the ball, just couldn't find a man open.
He looks like a quarterback when he drops back, and you can kind of almost understand he doesn't look like a runner, which is what you need to be to run the wing T, and maybe that's why another reason they are getting away from it there. The handoff this time is to Whitted, and he gets slammed and dropped back. Looked like Patrick was the first one in, making that big hit.
That was a run blitz by Salesianum. The first 2 linebackers missed. Patrick did not.
All righty.
He blasted the ball carrier.
And that is going to bring us to the end of the first quarter with Salesianum holding a 7-0 lead. When we come back, CR will have a 3rd and 10. You're listening to the high school football game of the week on Fox Sports 1290 and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Now for the 62nd DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Football Game on June 17th at Delaware Stadium. Be part of this Delaware tradition that works to change the perceptions of people living with intellectual challenges and enrich the lives of Delawareans with intellectual disabilities. Enjoy the game that brings together football players, cheerleaders, band members, and buddies from more than 50 Delaware high schools. It's so much more than one night and one game. Help support the DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Football Game today at dfrc.org.
High school football on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and iHeartRadio Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium, where Salesianum holds a 7-0 lead over Caesar Rodney. A big thanks to our newest partner, NKM Films, for their outstanding design on our 2016 high school football schedule poster featuring this year's games and our Fox Sports 10th anniversary team. Check out the poster at foxsports1290am.com and visit nknfilms.com for all your video needs. Newark leads Mount Pleasant 10-3, and as Marty you pointed out to me before the game, we went on the air, Red Lion has won 18-12 over St. Andrews. The Smyrna game is now 32-7.
Holy smokes.
Thanks to Benny Pinella back in the studio for giving us those couple scores. We're following them here in the booth as well. Always nice to have them coming in a couple different ways. Don't forget to tune into the Blue Hens Football Coaches Show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 94.7 WDSD as the voice of the Blue Hens, Scott Klatskin, talks UD football with head coach Dave Brock. All right, that brings up they've got 2nd and 10 on the scoreboard, but it is 3rd and 10 at the 15-yard line. Caesar Rodney's now moving from the north to south or left to right. Wagenhofer drops back. He's flushed out of the pocket, and he's brought down. Does a nice job even hanging onto the ball. Tackle made there by number 50, Dominic Giordano.
You know what? That's another great coverage sack by Salesianum. That was Joseph Gormley, the linebacker, who dropped into coverage for Salesianum. Cut off the up man, the man who came across the middle of the field for Caesar Rodney. Wagenhofer, I'm impressed with the offensive line. He's actually getting some time, but that Sally's defensive backfield is really just shutting down the Caesar Rodney receivers.
All right, that's going to bring on Joey Delgado, and dropping back on their own 45, I should say on the Caesar Rodney 45-yard line is John Andioli and Mike Drake. Delgado, another bad snap. This one's low. And it's out. He did a nice job getting it out, and Sally's just going to let it bounce, and it's going to bounce harmlessly out of bounds at about the 37-yard line. So 2 snaps, 2 bad ones for the punting team.
Yeah, this is it was a problem last week against Middletown. Middletown wasn't able to get there to block it. Sally's almost got it that time. They're actually not bringing the house. They had 2 men back deep, one intermediate and one definitely all the way deep, about 25, 30 yards down the field. But that's something CR is going to have to clear up. You know, just a real quick thought, John. I'm impressed with Caesar Rodney so far. They've actually had a better first quarter and a little bit into the second than we thought they would.
Yeah.
Definitely some improvement from last week.
Dan Candeloro certainly didn't want to be losing in any game, but if you had told him it'd be 7-0 after 1 quarter, I think he might have signed up for that. 1st and 10, ball on the 38-yard line, the Caesar Rodney 38-yard line for Sally's moving right to left. It's a fake handoff. Flag is in the air. They get it out to Drake, and he's going to be taken down and lose about 2 yards. We'll see what this flag is all about. I have a feeling the offense moved.
Either that or Caesar Rodney was offside. Something was going on. This official was actually the Sally's kids, the receivers were all looking across to see if they weren't set. They kept looking at this near side referee to make sure they were set in place. He kept shaking his head no. A couple of them started moving back and forth, and that resulted in the penalty.
And it was an illegal motion. We'll see if Dan Candeloro accepts this or would rather take the down. He is going to decline it. I think that's a good move. Otherwise, it would have just been a 3-yard difference.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to give Sally's more downs, especially for that little bit of yardage.
So I'll take that one off my penalty count. A really good first quarter.
A clean first
CR
quarter.
had 1 penalty. I can't think of what it was off the top of my head. And Sally's
had
none.
The chop block.
It was the chop block. That's right. And that was a big penalty,
yes,
unfortunately for them. So going to bring up a 2nd and 12 on the CR 40-yard line. I formation. Mullen the up back. Merlino is in the backfield behind him. DiNardo he comes around the back. He gets the ball across the 40, 35, spins out of a tackle and almost comes just shy of the 30-yard line, so it's going to bring up a third down, but that was a nifty run.
It really was. Folks, if you think we're just calling out the coach's son's name because he's the coach's son, forget about it. This kid has some serious wheels. He's 6'2", 160, a pretty wispy kid, but boy, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's like lightning in a bottle.
He is the youngest of Bill DiNardo's sons. Of course, they played for him here, and so this will be the last shot for him to coach one of his sons. Of course, he's only a junior, so he'll get one more year after this, but it is his last son. I formation, 3rd and 2. This is a big down for the CR defense. DiNardo goes in motion from right to left. The give is to Mullen up the middle where they always go when they need a couple yards, and he got more than a couple yards. He fumbled the ball, and it looks like CR has it. So had the first down and lost the ball. So that's a big turnover for Sally's, and now we've got a flag.
We're going to get a personal foul on someone at the end of that. But you're right, John. That's one of those cases where you keep churning your legs, you get more than you expect, and all of a sudden hands start ripping away at the football. It comes out, and that's a huge, huge turnaround for Caesar Rodney right there.
And it's going to be a personal foul against Sally's, so that's only going to add salt to the wound there. And that's their first penalty, and it'll give another 15 yards. And, that's the difference between having a chance to pin CR back and get the ball back to now they're in better field position than they would have had if you had kicked the ball.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, you couple the fumble with the penalty, and all of a sudden they're out to the 33-yard line. And, not what you want to see if you're Coach DiNardo. It was another good drive for Salesianum in process.
So it's on the 38-yard line where just a few minutes ago Sally's was starting on the CR 38-yard line. Now the Riders had the ball back after the Mullen fumble, and so a big turnover would have been a first down and maybe goal to goal. The flip out is to Whitted, and he's trying to get on the outside, but big Josh Patrick comes in and takes him down. There's no wonder Monmouth and Liberty have offered him scholarships. Albany, excuse me.
That's right. Josh Patrick is a wanted man at this point. Again, whenever Caesar Rodney runs an offensive play that takes time to develop, and you're not going to string out the Sally's defense and get a lot of yards. Every time they kind of hit it right away, CR makes that okay. When it gets strung out, Sally's ends up pushing them for a big loss.
All right, it's going to bring up a second down and 22. I'm looking at the scoreboard, and they have 3rd and 2, so I know that's not right. So they fire it up the middle, and he's got his man there. That's Bailey DeAtley, who's brought down after a pickup of about 6. So that's going to bring up a 3rd and still long to go.
I'm not sure Bailey DeAtley would say that 6-yard gain was worth the crunch he took in the middle of the field from 2 linebackers coming from different directions for Salesianum. But you know what? That's a completion for Jared Wagenhofer. Those may seem like little things, but they add up and build confidence.
DeAtley's first catch of the season. 3rd and 13, ball marked on the 30-yard line. 1 back in the backfield, 2 wide receivers out to the right. Wagenhofer drops back. He's got his man, but he's going to be out of bounds at the 42-yard line. That was Peyton Lavender hauled that ball in before he was tackled by Drake and Patrick.
That was a great job by Wagenhofer. He actually threw that before the receiver made his break. And the defensive back for Sally's, Michael Drake, was late coming out of his break. Nice job for CR. They're going to come up a little bit short here, but interesting to see what Coach Candelora does.
Well, it's 4th and 1, ball on the 42-yard line. He looks like he's sending on Delgado. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to punt. We saw Delgado make a pass on the first fumbled snap. Now, if you're CR, your number one priority is to get the ball into Delgado's hands. They're 0 for 2 in long snaps.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. You got to get this punt off.
And dropping back for Sally's is going to be Andioli and Drake.
CR has to burn a timeout because they only had 10 men in the formation, and with the way their punt game's been going, Coach Candelora was not going to let that proceed.
All righty, we'll take the timeouts, and it's going to be spot moving right to left as we see it. 8:10 to play, 7-0 lead for the Sals. Gwynn is under center in the I formation. The give is to the back. That is Carson Salvo. Has a big pickup. We saw Salvo run quite a few times on film, and he picks up the first down up to the 46-yard line.
He's 5'8", 175 pounds. He's very difficult to pick up if you're the linebacking core for the defense. By the time he hits the line, if you haven't picked him up, he's going to do what he did there, which is run for a first down. Nice start for Sally's.
Carson's older brother, Griffin, of course, was on this team for several years. He's now playing football up at Ursinus in Pennsylvania. 1st and 10, ball on the 46-yard line. To give us to Salvo again. He sneaks his way through and slips down there. there, and then he's covered up by James Home, a pickup only of about 1.
He immediately slapped the football when he got up. He was trying to cut that out to the right on the far side. There was nothing but green grass in front of him. But as you said, this we can already tell in the middle of the field a little bit. It's starting to get torn up. By a couple of weeks from now, this will be a dirt middle of the field.
Well, and you can see divots on the field. This was pristine last Thursday. Obviously, it was the first game. And I think since then, it was probably 3 or 4 games that have been played. We haven't had any rain, and yet the turf is soft. So, I mean, the groundskeepers do a great job here. They do what they can. But no reason why this field, the most used field in the state of Delaware, shouldn't be turf. Salvo gets the ball. Actually, it's a fake to Salvo. Play-action pass. Gwynn is looking deep. He's got Patrick in and out of his hands, but a nice defensive play there by Julian Trammell. He may have tipped it accidentally.
You know what? And part of that, Zach Gwynn, for some reason, I don't know if he got happy feet or what, he threw it off his back foot instead of planting and throwing. I've seen on film, he has the arm to make that throw. He short-armed that a little bit, threw it off his back foot. Patrick had to stop, and a nice job. You're right. I think that was actually tipped by accident by the CR defensive back, but they'll take it.
So a nice break there by CR, and this is a good Sally's team when you can take Merlino out and replace him with Salvo. And a little confusion coming out of the huddle, and Bill DiNardo is going to take a timeout. We will take our last timeout of the first half with him. With 7:02 to play, Salesianum has a 7-0 lead over Caesar Rodney, and a big 3rd and 9 coming up. You're listening to the Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week and watching it live on 302 Sports. Maybe we'll keep it right here, Marty. Timeout by Sally's there, so we'll still have one break to take. And you can see Patrick coming off the field. I don't know if he was a little shaken up there. It kind of looked like he might have fallen a little awkwardly when he was kind of twist his body to come up with that ball. So it was a nice fake by Gwynn. I like how they used Carson Salvo, yes, to run, and then the play-action pass. Everybody thinking Salvo was getting the ball again, and they went over top, almost pulled off a big play.
And by the way, Patrick might be the fastest tight end in the state of Delaware. He got down the field in a hurry. They list him as a tight end. I'm guessing he could run with maybe the fastest wideouts, except for maybe Kenny Edellen of Middletown, who he knows a burner.
And as a Jets fan, I'm thinking maybe Revis couldn't cover.
There you go. That's right.
All right, 3rd and 9. Ball on the 46-yard line. 2 wide receivers out to the left. The T formation, and it's a fake, and Gwynn is going to be tackled behind the line of scrimmage at the 41. That was a nice sack. The first guy in on that was Isaiah Washington.
Isaiah Washington didn't fall for the ball fake at all. He just kept on going straight through to Zach Gwynn. I'm guessing that the way they approached that looked like that's something they've seen on film before. Nice job by CR. And again, they really continue to hold their own here.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job. They ran into a buzzsaw last week with Drew Fry, 6 touchdowns. He's, of course, the son of the Fry who played quarterback for the University of Delaware. And Sally's is going to take another timeout. Bill DiNardo is not happy. He's only got 10 guys out on the field. So now I think we'll take our 5th and final break of the first half with 6:28 to play. Salesianum holds a 7-0 lead, and we'll be punting when we come back.
Pest control for your business from Royal Pest. Since 1976, Royal Pest has protected your home and family from pests. Our dedicated certified pest tax also can protect your business. Royal Pest will keep you regulatory compliant. We provide complete documentation on-site and online access to all of your services. Our focus is satisfaction and safety. Let us protect your business. Royal Pest, planet-friendly solutions to your pest problems.
Welcome back to the Delaware High School Football Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290.
Coming up on the Fox Sports 1290 AM halftime report, our producer and studio host, Benny Pinella, will have football news and scores from around the state of Delaware, along with a preview of the weekend's matchups still ahead tomorrow. Plus, we'll be back with a review of the first 24 minutes of action. It's all coming up at the half. 4th and 15, and Urban punts it away, a booming punt, which Caesar Rodney is going to let bounce, and it kind of bounced sideways, so no gain either way there, it's going to be down at about the 17-yard line. So Caesar Rodney will trot onto the field, hoping to get onto the scoreboard for the first time this season.
And Cooper Urban, that's one of the better high school punts you'll see. A lot of height on that, allowing the Sallies team to get down there. You would have liked to get that spin going towards the end zone, but hey, we've seen far worse punts than that. So nice job by Cooper Urban.
All right, starting next week, 8 teams in the state of Delaware are going to be playing unified flag football in a relationship between Special Olympics Delaware and the Delaware Interscholastic Athletic Association. For a complete list of those 8 teams and their schedules, visit SODE.org. First and 10, ball on the 17-yard line, moving left to right. The handoff is to Whitted, and he's stockpiled up and driven backwards for a loss of about 3.
You know, I hate to sound like a broken record again, but Whitted, again, it was a slow developing play. He took a Wagenhofer, took the shotgun snap, waited there for Whitted. It was a draw play, and it just, you're not going to work those plays against the Sally's defense. They're just simply too big, too fast to fall for that.
Caesar Rodney has looked its best when Wagenhofer has attempted to pass.
That's exactly it. Yeah, when they're back there and he's able to act like a quarterback and not the running game, he's doing a really nice job.
And let's face it, this Sally's team is tough to run against, no matter who you are. Second and 15, ball on the 14-yard line. Man in motion. They give it to Whitted this time. He hangs on to it, almost stripped out, gets back up to the 20-yard line, so going to bring up a third down.
And Whitted is a strong runner. He didn't have a lot of yards. Again, 29 yards on 7 carries last week. He did have a fumble, so it's interesting you mentioned that. He does tend to hold the ball in one arm even after he gets contacted the first time. That's something they're going to have to correct. But he's a big kid, a strong kid, a quick runner.
We're at the 5-minute mark here in the second quarter. Salesianum 7, Caesar Rodney 0 in a game a lot of people would tell you is much closer than they thought it would be at this time, and we've got a stoppage of play here. It looks like we have an equipment issue. Now Caesar Rodney is going to take a timeout. We are going to leave it, keep it right here. That's their second timeout of the first half. You know, Marty, Relay for Life are happening everywhere, and I wanted to point out one that's really special to me, and that's the one being held at Bank of America's Field of Dreams in Newark on Friday, September 23rd. There's going to be bands and food trucks and lots of fun activities for folks of all ages. You don't even have to walk if you don't want to. It's being organized by a good friend of mine. Just come out and make a donation of any amount to enjoy all there is to offer from 6 p.m. until 1 a.m., a little bit past my bedtime, but maybe for that younger generation. Again, a very family-oriented. Don't let that 1 a.m. time scare you. Lots of family stuff there. That's the Relay for Life at Bank of America's Field of Dreams on September 23rd.
And, you know, I will tell you, for the folks out there, if you haven't seen this unified football that John's talking about, look it up online, look it up on YouTube. It is a very cool thing. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of community involvement. It's a really neat thing that Special Olympics Delaware does.
Alrighty, that's going to bring up a 3rd and 7 for Caesar Rodney. Ball on the 20-yard line. Caesar Rodney called the timeout there. They've got wide receivers, one out to the right, one to the left, 2 guys in the split end position, and it's a fake. No, the give is to Wills, and he tries to get around the left side, but it doesn't get there. Still on his feet. Picks up another couple yards, but not enough. That's going to bring up a 4th down, and Caesar Rodney's going to be forced to punt.
And Willis is a really, really fast kid, but you see right there a perfect example. He tried to get to the far side corner, but that Sally's defense is just able to string it out. The linebackers and the defensive backs are so fast. It's very tough, and as you said, it's tough to run against them if you're anybody.
So it's going to bring up about a 4th and 3, ball on the 24-yard line, so an easy decision here for Coach Dan Candeloro as Joe Delgado is on to punt for the 4th time tonight. The perfect snap this time. Not such a great punt. It does get away. Almost hits a CR player, which really wouldn't have mattered, but it is going to be down by Caesar Rodney at the 48-yard line. You know, not a great punt, but you know what? Didn't have a return and got about 20 yards of roll.
That's just it, and I'm sure Coach Candeloro is over there threatening everything short of death if they don't get the snap in the hands of the punter. The last 2 snaps, we should say, have been picture perfect to Delgado, and although he's not getting a ton of leg into it, he is getting them off, and it is changing the field position at least a little bit, give that CR defense a chance to hunker down and stop this Sally's offense that really, when they get going, a lot of their wounds have been self-inflicted tonight.
And remember, this is Sally's offense that struggled last week.
It did.
You know, against a bigger and better opponent, but still struggled. So 1st and 10 on their own 48, I formation. Bernardo goes in motion from right to left. Merlino back in the game. They give it to him, and he barrels over the left tackle, gets to about the 46-yard line, so he'll be shy of the 1st down, but a good pickup here. And we got a stoppage of play. I guess there's the flag over on the far side. And it's going to be an illegal shift against Sally, so Coach Candeloro will certainly take this penalty.
Yeah, and that was a nice job by Merlino. He hits that line so quickly, that hole so quickly. But, again, going back to what I said just a minute ago, so many of Sally's drives have gotten off to clean starts, and then they end up shooting themselves in the foot and turning the ball over, or they have to punt. And here's another example where an unforced error is helping out Caesar Rodney.
So instead of second and maybe a yard or two for a first down, it brings up a 1st and 15. Ball is closer to the right hash mark than the left one. Sally's moving right to left or south to north here at Baynard. 2 backs in the backfield. Gwynn drops back. He flushes out. He's looking for Patrick. It sails over his head. And on the coverage was Isaiah Washington. Another flag on the play.
I think they're going to get number 59 here. Zebulon Wright actually just yanked the jersey. The Caesar Rodney player had a clean shot at Zach Gwynn. And Wright just grabbed on for dear life. And, of course, he's going to come off the field after that.
And so that is going to be a holding penalty, 10 yards. I'm not sure if Coach Candeloro has decided what he wants to do. Remember, it's from the spot of the hold, not where the ball previously was. They are going to take it. And so that's going to march Sally's even further back. So now they're back on their 29-yard line. And so that's going to bring up, it's still first down, but unfortunately it's first down and what looks like maybe 35 yards.
Used to say the first
down in
right?
Claymont.
Claymont, there you go.
I formation, wide receivers on both sides. Caesar Rodney faking the blitz. The give is to Merlino trying to get some of that penalty yardage back. He escapes a few tacklers around the right side and breaks it up to the 40-yard line. So he's still 8 yards shy of getting back to the original line of scrimmage. Going to bring up a 2nd and 18.
Nice job to get some of that back from Merlino. Again, he hits the line so quickly and he's slippery. He got out of 2 tackles there just as he crossed the line, able to get 7 or 8 yards. And as you said, it's still they've really, these self-inflicted wounds, they've made it so difficult on themselves because they wanted to score before the half.
2nd and 17, ball on the 41-yard line. We're 3 minutes from the half. Sally's leads CR 7-0, and now another flag, and Coach Candeloro is upset about something, so I'm going to assume that is on the defense.
No, I believe this is actually another false start on Salesianum.
Oh, wow, you're right.
The side of the line closest to CR, 2 guys sort of started to stand up, thinking that I guess that the snap wasn't going to happen. And, again, Coach Tenardo is going to go crazy.
An illegal motion, so you've got to take the penalty because the play never happened. So that's going to bring up a 2nd and 23-yard line now. Candeloro must have been excited that his team was getting the penalty or that it wasn't going against him. Ball on the right hash mark. Gwynn under center. He drops back, looking to his left. He fires down the left side, trying to hit his receiver, DiNardo, but overshot his man. In on the coverage was Caleb Mosley, and that will bring up a 3rd and long.
And that was a great job by Caleb Mosley. He watched Zach Wynn's eyes the whole time he followed the receiver, Patrick, and just nothing there. He had blanket coverage. And, again, a nice job. So the CR defense really starting to hunker down a little bit, make things more difficult on Sally's.
Dan Candeloro has to be thrilled, absolutely thrilled with the Riders' performance after their opening game, 49-0 loss to Middletown. And so, he's got to be nothing but happy. 48-0 loss, Ball on the right-hand hash mark, 3rd and 22. Ball on the 36. The fake is to the deep back, and Gwynn is being chased, and he fires it out of bounds. Now, that's an experienced quarterback. He made sure nobody except the guys on the CR bench was catching that one.
He took the words out of my mouth again. Last week, that is something he did not do. He was throwing it into the field of play and hoping somebody come up with it. That was a great job of just getting rid of the football, not making this any worse. Get a chance to get off a punt and get out of Dodge here without any damage.
And to Quinn's credit, this is really the first time he's had an opportunity to study game film of himself from start to finish and make adjustments, because he got thrust into that state championship game. Thrust into the semifinals, then really had just a week to prepare for a state championship game. So Urban is in to punt away for Sally's. The punt is up, and it's going to bounce at about the 40-yard line. It's going to take a Sally's bounce, and CR is going to let it do so, and it's going to be down at the 28-yard line. 7-0 Sally's over Caesar Rodney, 2:22 to play. We'll see if Caesar Rodney can put together a drive here and maybe pull even before they head into the locker room at halftime.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do here. I'm hoping they go more with the quick hit stuff that they had some success with in the first quarter and figure out that they're just not going to be able to do too much on delayed plays and trying to get out of that backfield. Nice to see Wagenhofer try to get some throws down the field here, even some intermediate throws, something to get some momentum offensively going into the locker room.
All righty. It says on the scoreboard that both teams have one timeout left, and that's what I have, so that's what we're going to go with. Wagenhofer drops back. He has two wide receivers out to the left. Whips it over the middle. Ball is tipped. It's still being tipped around up in the air and finally falls down. So it must have been tipped 4 or 5 times and then falls helplessly, going to bring up a second down.
Yeah, that's actually a break for Wagenhofer there. The ball got tipped not long after he threw it. But, again, he's getting time to throw when he drops back in the pocket and has time to look around. And he actually had a player there, just threw a little bit behind him. But he's impressing me from the quarterback position when he's able to get time and set up, which he's been able to do more and more.
2nd and 10. Ball is on the 28-yard line. 2:15 to play. Caesar Rodney with the ball, trailing 7-0. The give is up the middle to Whitted, and he's going to be dragged down by a host of Sally's players. Looks like he may have picked up a half a yard. Dragged several guys, unfortunately, to the left,
yes,
not
he did.
straight ahead.
Yeah. He decided to go east-west there and was not able to get much. Once that Sally's line got a hold of him, they weren't going to let him go this time.
That's going to bring up a 3rd and long, so you can see, if you're watching this on 302 Sports, you can see the big guys coming out and the speedy guys going in, figuring this is going to be a passing play for Caesar Rodney, which you and I agree we think works to their advantage. They haven't been able to connect, but they've had guys open. I mean, they've connected a couple times, but they've had guys open. Wagenhofer is in the shotgun position. That's Whitted behind him. 3 receivers out to the right as he's on his left hash. It is a pitch to Whitted, and he's trying to pick up the gap, and instead he's slammed back by Patrick. Patrick hangs on. Whitted manages to pick up a few more yards, but still going to leave a 4th and 5 for Caesar Rodney.
Yeah, not too many people make contact with Patrick and are able to go forward. Whitted is a really strong kid. He was able to drag Patrick for about 2 yards there. But you can see that the strategy by Candeloro, Coach Candeloro, play it safe there, not make any big mistakes, try to get a decent punt here and get into the locker room only down by 1 touchdown.
This will be the 6th punt between the teams in this second quarter. The only other possession was when Peyton Mullen fumbled it on Sally's first possession of this second quarter. So Delgado is back to punt, and back for Sally's is Andioli and Drake, and rushes on, and Delgado does a nice job getting that ball away. The ball bounces, and finally Caesar Rodney gets it. That's Brendan Holder who downs it at the 49-yard line, and the Sally's offense will come on with just 36 seconds to play and a 7-0 lead here in the second quarter.
Yeah, it was actually another low snap. It didn't bounce this time, but Delgado had to go down and get it, and when he looked up, there was a Sally's player rushing from the left side of the line, so he did have to get rid of it quicker than he wanted to. I'm sure he would like to get 10 to 15 more yards on that and not have Sally set up at about midfield.
All right, if you're Caesar Rodney, you don't want to give up the big play. If you're Sally's, you want to hang on to the ball. 1st and 10 at their own 49-yard line. I formation. Gwynn drops back in a quick out, and he's got his man at the 42-yard line, and that is John Hahn. And it's a hurry-up offense now as Sally's only has 1 timeout left. The referee signaled for the clock to stop, but it has not stopped. Now it's going, and now there's some confusion. The ref closest to us was signaling for the clock to stop. I think he was trying to determine if it was going to be a first down.
Exactly.
And now they're going to run 5 seconds off the clock because the clock should not have stopped. A nice job by our referee, John Patterson, straightening that out. So it's going to bring up a 2nd and 1, 16 seconds to play. Ball on the 41-yard line. Gwynn drops back. It's a quick out, and he has his man at the 20. The 15 needs to get out of bounds. That's Desmond Bagley. And he get out of bounds, or did Donardo? Donardo took his final timeout.
He was not able to get out of bounds.
It's in the furthest part of the field across the way from us, so we could not see, and there was no immediate signal. So Donardo has taken his final timeout, and with just 5 seconds to play, it looks like he's going to run Cooper Urban. It's a great name.
Yes, it is.
But it could be Urban Cooper because I think of Urban Meyer. And so all week I was trying to get it straight. I'm not sure I've gotten it straight yet once tonight. But Cooper Urban is onto the field to attempt this field goal.
This is a long one.
This is a long one. It looks like the ball is at the 18-yard line, which means the spot will go down at the 25. It'll be a 35-yard field goal. It's from the right hash mark. This is Urban is a left-footed kicker, so I would think that's a disadvantage.
I
but
would too.
I'm not a kicker, so I don't know.
We know kickers are weird. Let's face it. They're stranger than everyone else on the team, so you never know.
Now this could also be a fake too.
It could.
We'll see. We'll see who the holder is. It was hard to tell during warm-ups who that would be, and this is the first field goal we've seen. They didn't attempt any field goals last week.
No.
And I don't know if the holder's different when there's an extra point than a field goal. Probably not.
And I will say Cooper Urban is able to hit the end zone on kickoff, so he does have a strong leg. So we'll see if he's able to get this one through for South, if they do, in fact, go ahead with the kick.
There feels like a wind up here, but you cannot see the flag moving, so we're going to call it no wind. He is right on the right hash mark, Urban is, and it is going to be a 35-yard attempt. The hold is down, and the kick just squibs underneath the field goal post. So no good on the 35-yard attempt. There is still 1 second left on the clock, so my guess is Caesar Rodney's going to take a knee.
If I'm Coach Candeloro, and again, you told me I had a chance to get out of here with a 7-0 deficit, I'd take it in a heartbeat. Just going back to that kick for a second, it's tough. High school kids, you tend to get a little juiced. You try to put a little bit too much into it. You hit the ball a little incorrectly, and all of a sudden it just rockets a line drive right under the goalpost for Cooper Urban. But he does have a strong leg.
So with 1 second left here in the first half, Sally's has a 7-0 lead. We got some scores coming across. Benny Pinella keeping us hooked up. Lake Forest has a 7-6 lead over St. Mark's. And Benny will have several scores for you at the half, as Caesar Rodney is going to do just that. So that's going to put it for the first half here in the books. Salesianum 7, Caesar Rodney 0. When we come back, Benny Pinella will have scores and updates for you on the Fox Sports 1290 AM halftime report. Once again, your score, Salesianum 7, Caesar Rodney 0. You're listening to the Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Fall is back, and so is apple cider at Willie Farms, Route 13, Townsend. Just in time for tailgating, pick up Kaufman's apple cider and come choose from a variety of chips and pretzels, fresh fruits and vegetables, gourmet cheeses, and delicious sauces and marinades, perfect for your special tailgating dishes. Decorate for fall with beautiful mums, pumpkins and gourds, fall hanging baskets, and beautifully arranged fall patio planters. Open daily, 8 to 7. Willie Farms is a short drive from Newark, Dover, or Wilmington. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook.
It's hard to miss all the TV lawyer ads. Catchy slogans surround promises of maximum recovery and fighting for your rights. Hi, this is Melissa Rufo of Rufo Associates. We have decades of experience successfully handling injury claims. Our track record with auto accidents, slip and falls, and defective products cases is second to none. We let our results be our slogan. Nobody wants to need a lawyer, but if the need arises, don't take any chances. Get a strong advocate on your side. You need Rufo Associates. Visit rufolaw.com. That's RUFO law.com.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With the call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995 for free information. 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995.
Grab your business cards and get ready to be part of the biggest business mixer of the year on Wednesday, September 21st. Hi, this is Christine Sowers, president of your Better Business Bureau serving Delaware. Join your BBB and the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, along with 700 others from the business community, for a night of networking.
Custom Inc. Your designs, quality products, free shipping. Start designing for your business today at CustomInc.com.
Welcome to the High School Football Game of the Week Halftime Report, presented by IBEW Local 313 and its local contractors on Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome to the IBEW Local 313 halftime show here on Fox Sports 1290. Benny Pinello with you. John and Marty at the scene of our Fox Sports Game of the Week. Salesianum and Caesar Rodney right now at the half, 7-0. A touchdown run there by Nick Merlino for Salesianum. They missed a field goal at the half to end it to keep it at 7-0. So far, great game. But here are scores around the rest of high school football here in Delaware. We have a final for you earlier today at 4 p.m. Red Lion Christian Academy. They took on St. Andrews. That one ending 18-12. And, of course, some other scores for you. Milford Hall of Fame night. Milford leading DMA right now 8-0. And Smyrna on top of Apo 40-13. Newark leading Mount Pleasant 10-3. Cambridge over Seaford 40-0. And Woodbridge and Polytech right now 41-0. Got a score update for Glasgow and McKean. That one 22-0. Del Mar leading St. Mary's only by a touchdown 6-0. And St. Mark's just went down. Lake Forest scoring a touchdown there, 7-6. Lake Forest leading that one. And then Elkton and Caravel, last check there, was 14-6. Other games going on right now at a 6 p.m. start for Baltimore Polytech and Dover. Tower Hills at Perkiomen and Hartford Tech. And Tatnall are squaring off Laurel versus St. E's. Cape Hemlopen is at Oakdale. They're in Maryland. Then Sussex Central, they're hosting Interborough from Pennsylvania. And then we have Sussex Tech taking on Indian River. For tomorrow, Concord, they're going to have their homecoming game rather early. 10:30 in the morning, they're hosting AI. We also have 10:30 starts for Charter and Delcastle. Hodgson, Votech, and Christiana and St. George's Tech, they're taking on Howard at 10:30 in the morning. 11 a.m. start for Dickinson and Conrad. 12 p.m. start for Archmere and Brandywine. 1 p.m. start for William Penn taking on Middletown. Then at 2, William Friends will travel to the Academy of New Church. Also, looking at sports around or scores around the NFL, last night the Jets toppled the Bills 37-31. A big performance there by Jets. Ryan Fitzpatrick had 374 yards and a touchdown. For the Bills, though, Tyrod Taylor had 3 touchdowns and almost 300 yards passing, at over 300 yards total with rushing yards included. This weekend, some big games at 1 p.m. The Cowboys will face Washington, Steelers and Bengals, and Ravens and Browns. And at 8:30, we have the Packers and the Vikings. And Monday Night Football, Eagles will travel to Chicago. Big stories around sports right now. The Bills firing their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, after an 0-2 start. Roman was the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL. The Bills tally just over 160 yards of total offense the opening week. They did bounce back, though, last night for almost 400 yards of total offense and 30 points. But that was not enough to save his job. Running backs coach Anthony Lynn will be their new offensive coordinator. Also, big UFC news for 205. Tyron Woodley announcing he will defend his welterweight championship belt against number 1 contender Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Woodley, of course, won that belt at UFC 201 when he shockingly defeated Robbie Lawler. 205 will take place in New York City at Madison Square Garden November 12th. Also, Tom Brady is serving his suspension. However, he's looking to play some catch, and it looks like he's turning to a familiar name. Wes Welker told a local New England radio station that he recently was contacted by Brady about grabbing dinner and ended up being talked into having a catch with Tom Brady. Welker officially retired in the offseason. Brady will make his return against the Browns in Week 5 on October 9th. Once again, we will get back to more scoring updates and your University of Delaware sports report coming up after the break, right here on Fox Sports 1290.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. With the call to National Tax Helpline, you can stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements, and other favorable programs, you may qualify for substantial savings. So get the help you need. If you owe the IRS $10,000 or more, call now for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Tax Helpline, 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995 for free information. 800-255-3995. That's 800-255-3995.
I'm Pete. I just launched my first company. Thanks to Custom Ink, I can get my name out there with custom t-shirts, jackets, and polos. I just uploaded my logo online, and with a few easy steps, I had my crew covered in no time.
For all of life's events, choose Custom Ink. Promote your own business and elevate your brand with custom business apparel from Custom Ink. It's easy and fun to make a statement with Custom Ink's online design lab. Your designs, quality products, free shipping. Start designing for your business today at customink.com.
The area's largest family-owned and operated pet supply store is proud to support University of Delaware Blue Hens football. Concord Pet Foods and Supplies with 29 locations was started here in Delaware by Larry Muchler 35 years ago. Experience the difference at Concord Pet. Their outstanding staff will help you with everything your pet needs. Plus, the frequent buyer program allows you to earn free food, litter, and more. It's Concord Pet Foods and Supplies. Online at ConcordPetFoods.com. Go Hens!
Everybody's got their own burger, their very own mouth-watering handheld calling card that says, "Now this is me." You got chili heads and bacon banditos. There's those that like them cheesy and those that like them light and breezy. No matter your burger, Fuddruckers has it, starting with 100% USDA premium cut beef and fresh-baked sesame seed buns. You can top it, sculpt it, perfect it with all your favorite toppings from our Build Your Own bar. Go ahead, name it. We got it. Fuddruckers, the world's greatest hamburgers.
Crown Trophy of Glasgow and Wilmington are excited to announce our new varsity letter sport balls in football, basketball, baseball, and softball. These are real sport balls that are professionally embroidered and individualized for the athlete. They can also be used for championship game recognition as the championship game ball. These sports balls make a great gift and are an amazing way to showcase your varsity letter and achievement. Make sure to get your varsity letter sport ball at Crown Trophy of Glasgow and Wilmington. Visit crowntrophy.com.
This is the Delaware High School Football Game of the Week Halftime Report on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and iHeartRadio Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome back to the IBEW Local 313 Halftime Show. Benny Pinelli here with John and Marty live at our Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week. Salesianum still leading Caesar Rodney at the half, 7-0. Of course, the touchdown scored by Nick Merlino. It was a touchdown run for Sallies. They did miss a field goal at the end of the half to keep it 7-0. Have some scoring updates. Woodbridge now 48, Polytech nothing. On St. E's and Laurel right now. Laurel leading that one 19-14. Interborough over Sussex Central so far 13-10. And Indian River up on Sussex Tech by a point 20-19. Now it's time for the University of Delaware Sports Report. Blue Hen alum Chad Kuhl was in Philly as the Pirates and Philly squared off. He started their game yesterday, went strong and got the win 15-2 for the Pirates. Kuhl is on his rookie season. He is 4-3 with a 3.97 ERA for the Pirates. Guillermo Delgado has tied the career points record for UD men's soccer as the Hens beat Seton Hall 3-1 yesterday. Delgado finished with 4 points on a goal and 2 assists. He now ties his former teammate Joe Dupree. Also, the women's field hockey team fell to number 12th in the latest NFHCA coaches poll after losing this week to Princeton 4-2. And of course, University of Delaware men's lacrosse has garnered an impressive freshman class of 2020 with 7 high school All-Americans. That group is led by Luke Branchino, Matt DeLuca, Brian Cunningham, Charlie Kitchen, Bo Cush, Zach Strasner, and Crosby Matthews for the University of Delaware men's lacrosse recruiting season for 2020's their freshman class there. Also, the University of Delaware football team looks to stay undefeated tomorrow against Wake Forest, who's 2-0 in their own right. You can hear that game on 94.7 WDSD, our sister station. Schedule for the University of Delaware athletics. Women's golf team has a Rutgers Invitational Day 2 of play tomorrow. Also, the men's tennis will be at St. Joseph's. Baseball has their fall inter-squad game. That's happening at 10 a.m. Volleyball will be at Missouri for their matches against Missouri, Miami, and Duquesne. And then men's soccer will face William & Mary at 7 p.m. You can get all your University of Delaware football tickets for their home game against Maine for Parents and Family Weekend coming up October 8th, as well as all your Blue Hens athletic news on BlueHens.com. One final scoring update before we go back to John and Marty at our Game of the Week, Salesianum and Caesar Rodney. Baltimore Polytech leading Dover 26-21. That is the final there. Well, that does it for me here in the studio. Once again, sending it back to John and Marty for our Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week. Once again, Sally's leading Caesar Rodney 7-0.
This has been the High School Football Game of the Week Halftime Report, presented by the IBEW Local 313 and its local contractors. We'll be right back with the start of the second half on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and on the go with our free iHeartRadio app.
Want to watch high school sports live? Go to 302sports.com. Each week, we will be live streaming high school sporting events to our 302 Sport. Go to join our 302 Sports channel. Our upcoming join today for the best coverage of high school sports in Delaware. 302 Sports. Don't miss the action. All Delaware, all sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at 302 Sports.
Hi, this is Tom Suter of Crown Trophy in People's Plaza, and I'm a proud supporter of high school football and basketball on Fox Sports 1290 AM. Crown Trophy is the supplier of the weekly Fox Sports Player of the Game Award. If it's trophies you need, Crown Trophy has them in every shape, style, and finish imaginable. Come see us in Newark and Wilmington, and also at crowntrophy.com. Crown Trophy, the official supplier of the Delaware High School State Championship Trophy and proud partner of Fox Sports 1290 AM.
If your child ever asks, where do sandwiches come from? Tell them the truth. Look them straight in the eyes and tell them, sandwiches come from Arby's. And if they ask where the loaded Italian and its many meats come from, kindly respond, what part of Arby's didn't you understand, Giuseppe? The loaded Italian sandwich. Arby's, we have the meat.
There are over 3,000 lawyers in Delaware today. That's a big number for a small state. Who should you contact when you need legal advice? This is Melissa Rufo of Rufo Associates, a firm with roots in the Delaware legal community going back more than 35 years. We have the experience, resources, and commitment to excellence you need and deserve. You didn't ask for legal problems. Nobody wants to need a lawyer. But if the need arises, don't take any chances. Get a strong advocate on your side. You need Rufo Associates. Visit rufolaw.com. That's RUFO law.com.
USA Today Network wants to send you and a guest to the 2016 CMA Awards in Nashville. Prize includes round-trip travel, 2 nights at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel, and 2 tickets to the CMA Awards. Enter at cmasweeps.usatoday.com for a chance to win. Deadline to enter is October 6th at 11:59 a.m. See official rules at cmasweeps.usatoday.com for details.
Bird Exclusion Pest Control from Royal Pest. Have birds turned house into their nest and turned it into a highly contaminated facility? Birds can spread illness and disease via their feces. The effect they can have on a food service facility or warehouse can be devastating. Royal Pest Bird Exclusion Specialists will put a program together to protect your people and products, and that will also protect your reputation. Royal Pest, planet-friendly solutions to your pest problems.
High school football on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and iHeartRadio Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. Salesianum has a 7-0 lead over Caesar Rodney High School. Thanks to Benny Pinella for that halftime report, getting you up to date on all the scores around the state of Delaware here on a Friday night of football, and it's a beautiful Friday night weather-wise compared to last week. Marty, by this time we had both soaked through whatever we had on.
That's
and
right.
We're almost to the point where we're debating whether we need to put a coat on
That's
up here
right.
in the press box at Baynard Stadium. So it was 70 degrees when we kicked off. It's safe to say it's probably a little bit closer to the low 60s at this point. The wind has died down, which kind of has helped keep it at least a little bit warmer. And again, not that I'm rooting for warmth at any time. You can ask my wife. I will take cold over warm at any time. So a tale of two halves, and you said it best when we were off the air. Only one score the entire first half, and that was late in the first quarter when Nick Merlino rushed in from 3 yards out, and Cooper Irvin's extra point made it 7-0 with 29 seconds left to play in the first quarter. After that, Caesar Rodney punted, Salesianum fumbled, Caesar Rodney punted, Sally's punted, Caesar Rodney punted, Sally's punted, Caesar Rodney punted, Sally's missed a 35-yard field goal, and Caesar Rodney took a knee. So if you were looking for an outstanding offensive effort in the second quarter, you didn't have it. But Coach Candeloro has to be happy. Coach Bill DiNardo probably not so happy.
No, we said, for one guy who's going in with, by the way, no points for Caesar Rodney this season so far. They're now 6 quarters into the season without a point. But I imagine the team that went in on the short end this time, Coach Candeloro, had to be thrilled with the way his team responded to the shell shock from Middletown last week. Whereas Coach DiNardo, his team, they moved the ball well at times. They played good defensively, but they really shot themselves in the foot too often, whether it was penalties or the turnover. Just a lot of little dumb mistakes. And against a team like Caesar Rodney, you may be able to get away with it. This is still a game. This is certainly not in the bag for anybody at this point. But if you're Coach Candeloro, you couldn't be happier with your defense. Your offense didn't shoot itself in the foot, which it did a few times last week against Middletown. So they've moved the ball at times, but the defense has been outstanding.
Yeah, it certainly has. And, we said at the onset this was kind of a David versus Goliath type of thing. Sally's being Goliath, Caesar Rodney being the David. These two teams have played each other. Both of these teams have very, very difficult opening 3 or 4 games. Absolutely. They always had over the years. Sally's, after playing Father Judge, this Caesar Rodney team, they've got Smyrna and they've got Caravel Academy, which, by the way, is losing 14-12 right now to Elkton, thanks to Benny Pinella sending us that score via text message. And so they've got a tough schedule. Caesar Rodney played Middletown, Sally's. They play a tough Glen Mills team. They're going to have to face St. George's Tech and then Sussex Tech. There's no break for Caesar Rodney. But it really is a David versus Goliath situation. Caesar Rodney has not won this matchup since 2008, which was the year they won their school's only state championship. Speaking of state championships, Sally's has 7 state titles in football, 151 in all of sports.
First time I heard that, I was stunned.
And what makes it more amazing is they only have men's sports.
Yes.
When you think about it.
You're right.
Caesar Rodney, on the other hand, they've got actually, they have 3 football state titles. I misspoke on that. Mike Schoenwolf, their most recent coach, and they've only had 4 coaches. Dan Candeloro is only the 4th coach in Caesar Rodney history. They've got 3 football state titles, 51 total in all sports. And so, these are 2 programs rich in sports history. Nobody's got close to 151 state titles, so you can't even compare the 2. But when it comes to a tradition of sports, both these programs have a rich history. Caesar Rodney struggling a little bit the last couple of years. For one reason or another, it kind of ebbs and flows, whereas Sally's, they are just traditionally always good. If they're not one of the top teams in the state, they're always in the playoff hunt.
That's it. They're drawing kids from, I used the word recruiter earlier, and Coach built abilities of the players he has at that time. So
he didn't touch the ball at all on offense that I remember, but on film he managed to get quite a few touches. We'll see if that changes. The kick is away, and he's going to get his first chance. Actually, it's not Daniels. I'm sorry. It is Willis who has the ball. It looked like a 12. It's actually 42, and he gets hunkered down at the 11-yard line. So not exactly the start Caesar Rodney was hoping to have, but they'll have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 11-yard line.
Terrific coverage by the Sally's kick coverage team. They haven't had a lot of opportunities to do that tonight. But, yeah, if you're Caesar Rodney this half, you want to get off to a strong start. The one thing you don't want to do is turn it over or have a real quick 3-and-out in your own end. You want to flip this field if nothing else.
And so it's going to be 1st and 10 on the 11-yard line. Caesar Rodney in their white jerseys, gold pants, gold helmets, almost a yellow, I think, whereas gold is the Sally's helmets and pants. They're in their navy blue jerseys. Wagenhofer in under center. Man goes in motion from right to left. It's a high snap. He pulls it down. Flag is down. Whitted has it, and he's going to barely get back to the line of scrimmage. And it was the referee in the backfield, and it was an illegal shift on Caesar Rodney. So that is going to be Caesar Rodney's second penalty of the night.
And that could have been much worse. That was a bad snap, which really was the first bad shotgun snap we've seen from Caesar Rodney tonight. They had a few of them last week, so they've made improvements in that area. But, right off the bat, I say you don't want to make mistakes this deep in your end, and right away they get hit with a 5-yard penalty.
And actually they're going to decline the penalty, which I wondered if they would do because they didn't pick up any yardage. No. And I think Bill DiNardo has enough confidence in his defense to stop Caesar Rodney. He didn't feel like they needed to have that 5 yards. So it's going to bring up a 2nd and 10. Ball on the 11-yard line. Whitted is in the backfield behind Wagenhofer, and the handoff is to the man who comes around the end. That's Holmes carrying the ball for the second time, and he barely gets back to the line of scrimmage.
And that got slowed down again. That was another high shotgun snap there for Wagenhofer. I don't know what's going on with the center there. He's got to get that under control because in the spread offense, so much of it is based on timing. You've got to get that snap perfectly, and at that time Holmes had to hold up a little bit. And again, here they are in 3rd and long.
3rd and 10 to be exact. Ball on the 11-yard line. Whitted is lined up behind Wagenhofer. There are 2 guys out to the right. Actually, 2 split ends, one on each side. It looked like Holmes moved and got away with it, and the give is around the side and dragged down from behind is Isaiah Washington, and that's going to force a punt for CR.
Yeah, that was a pretty disastrous possession there for Caesar Rodney. The 3rd consecutive high snap out of the shotgun. The timing disrupted again, and Sally's defense just pinned their ears back and took care of that one quickly.
So Joe Delgado is going to be on the field, and he will probably be lined up in his own end zone. And remember, they struggled starting the game. The first 2 snaps, one was over his head and one was a hop and a skip to him. Running onto the field late here is Julian Trammell, so a little confusion as Dan Candelora going to have to take a timeout. No signal yet. Andy Oley and Drake are back on the CR 37-yard line. The kick is up and away, and it's a decent kick. They're going to let it roll. No, Drake is going to come up and field it, and a really risky play that he got away with, and he's brought down at the 32-yard line. In on the tackle was Brendan Holder. So Sally's are going to start out with good field position.
Yeah, for the kids at home, that's not something you want to usually do. He caught that on a dead run, surrounded by Caesar Rodney defenders who probably thought he was going to allow that ball to go out of bounds. Not the greatest punt in the world, but some added yardage there, and all of a sudden Sally sets up shop at the 23.
So Zach Gwynn will bring his team up under center there, and he's in the I formation. Peyton Mullen is the up back. Merlino is behind him. 2 wide receivers out to the right. The give is to Merlino. He barrels over the left tackle, that big offensive line, and he's going to pick up about 5, maybe 6 yards, and that's an offensive line that returns 4 of the 5 starters from last year's state championship appearance team.
Nothing special about that run at all. Merlino just following that big offensive line, as you just mentioned. They're one of the best in the state, even though Sally's not considered to be one of the best in the state this year. Their offensive line is still up there.
2nd and 5. Ball is on the 18-yard line. I formation. DiNardo is set up in the split end position. The give is to Merlino again. This time he goes over the right tackle. A flag is down. If this play stands, it'll be a first down Sally's on the 10-yard line.
And that was a really nice job again by Merlino following that offensive line. They're really just clearing out space now. And Merlino, as I said in the first half, hits that hole so quickly.
And the penalty is going to be a hold against Sally's. That is their 5th penalty on the night. So as they step this off, I'll remind you to tune into the Blue Hens Football Coaches Show every Wednesday at 7 o'clock on 94.7 WDSD as the voice of the Blue Hens, Scott Klatzen, talks UD football with head coach Dave Brock. That show takes place upstairs at Klondike Kate. So Sally's moving backwards now. We got a 2nd and 12, and now some confusion. Probably, I think the confusion is the spot of the ball. Or no, somebody is hurt. There's a Caesar Rodney player that was actually literally on the sideline, meaning the white line on the sideline, and they needed to get him moved out of the way, and they did. We'll try to get a number on that. Hard to see now. He's behind the bench. So either way, 2nd and 12. Ball on the 25-yard line for Sally's. We'll see if they're able to put something together here and get in the end zone for just the second time tonight in a game which is much closer than a lot of people thought would be. DiNardo goes in motion from the right to the left. The give is to Mullen, the up back, and he barrels forward. He's got one fumble, but he hangs onto the ball that time and has brought down William Burke, one of the guys in on the tackle.
And again, a really nice job by that Sally's offensive line. Sean Keating, the center, the senior, 265 pounds, clearing people out of the way there. And Mullen is just so strong, low center of gravity, and it's very tough to bring him down if you try to get him up top.
3rd and 6 on the 19. Newark leads Mount Pleasant 17-3. Barry Zender looking to get his first win as Newark's head coach, following in the footsteps of the 39-year coach, Butch Simpson. I formation, 2 guys behind Mullen and Merlino. It's a fake to Merlino and an end around to DiNardo. He goes around the left side, gets to the 10, picks up the first down before he's brought down by Julian Trammell. So a nice fake in the backfield there, picked up the first down.
You know, Michael DiNardo may be the offensive MVP of this team tonight. Every time he's touched the ball, he's made something happen. He's so quick. It was set up by the play fake to Merlino, giving it to DiNardo on the end around, and he's one of the faster kids out there, and he's making his presence felt every time he gets his hands on the ball.
You know, we watched the Sally's team on tape. We watched this team warm up, and they are deep. I mean, they've got guys in their 2nd and 3rd string that would start on a lot of Division I teams here in the state of Delaware. 1st and 10, ball on the left hash mark. Merlino gets the call up the middle, 2 hands on the ball, touchdown.
Great job by Merlino. The offensive line just blowing Caesar Rodney out of the middle of the field. A huge gap opened up. Once Merlino gets ahead of steam, you're not going to catch him.
Nick Merlino with an 11-yard touchdown run to give Sally's a 13-0 lead at the 7:57 mark here in the 3rd quarter. That was a drive that started on the 23-yard line and consumed just a little over 2 minutes of play. So that, I think, is what Bill DiNardo was looking for coming out of the locker room on their first offensive series.
And conversely, just what Coach Candelora didn't want, a turnover really, which is what it amounted to on 4th down there deep in their own territory.
Matthew Freeze is in on the hold. Cooper Urban. The kick is up, and he nails it through the upright. So we're going to take a break with 7:57 left to play here. It's Salesianum 14, Caesar Rodney 0. You are listening to the Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290 and watching it live on the stream at 302 Sports.
The Beatles, live at the Hollywood Bowl, their only official live album. Remixed, remastered, and now with 4 bonus tracks. Experience the Beatles phenomenon live. The perfect companion to the Ron Howard film 8 days a week, The Touring Years.
Streaming exclusively on Hulu. The Beatles, live at the Hollywood Bowl. Available everywhere.
From 2007 to 2016, 10 seasons of high school football on Fox Sports 1290 and foxsports1290am.com.
Salesianum has scored on their first drive of the second half, take a 14-0 lead over Caesar Rodney. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan. Benny Pinella back in the studio. Cooper Urban kicks it away left to right as we see it. And Wills has it on his 2-yard line. He scampers over to the right side, now cuts back up the middle, and he's brought down at the 10-yard line. That was Garrett Million who made the first contact with Wills.
Great kick coverage again by the Sally's coverage team. You get the feeling at halftime, Coach DiNardo let them know that what happened in the first half was unacceptable. As Sally's defense and offense, their kick coverage team, everything has really come out and turned it up a notch so far in the second half, which probably bodes well for Caesar. Not falling for these play fakes like they did in the first half. Looks to be a little bit more discipline that they're showing coming out at the beginning of this second half. Caesar Rodney, you know, we talked about it earlier with Wagenhofer doing most of his damage when he's able to get back in the pocket. They're going to have to try something different.
Wills slipped down, and you can see quite a few divots down in that end of the field. We've got a stoppage of play here, and it looks like Caesar Rodney is going to take a timeout. We will take a timeout with them with 7:18 to play here in the third quarter. Salesianum leads Caesar Rodney 14-0. You're listening to the Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290 and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Delaware's largest family-owned and operated pet supply store is proud to support University of Delaware Blue Hens football. Concord Pet Foods and Supplies with 29 locations was started here in Delaware by Larry Muchler 35 years ago. Experience the difference at Concord Pet. Their outstanding staff will help you with everything your pet needs. Plus, the frequent buyer program allows you to earn free food, litter, and more. It's Concord Pet Foods and Supplies. Online at ConcordPetFoods.com. Go Hens!
Welcome back to the Delaware High School football game of the week on Fox Sports 1290.
John Busby along with Marty Sheehan, Benny Pinello back in the studio, and Nick Halliday running the boards for 302 Sports. We're proud to be providing the audio for every regular season game that 302 Sports is at with us. It is 2nd and 12. Caesar Rodney, Wagenhofer drops it back. He hits Whitted on a little screen play, picks up about 6 yards, and it's going to bring up a 3rd and probably about 5.
That was a nice job by Wagenhofer just to get that off, as he was under tremendous pressure from Josh Patrick there. Nice job to see Whitted get more involved in the offense. He did have some nice catches out of the backfield last week. It'd be nice to see him get more involved in the second half. They're going to have to do something to get Sally's off balance.
Whitted is a big back, and so I agree. They need to get the ball in his hands and see if he can pick something up the middle. 2 wide receivers out to the left, 3rd and 5. Wagenhofer drops back, and he zips it over the middle, has his man, and that's a first down. But then there's a fumble, and they're going to call the man down. That was Bailey Diatley who made the catch over the middle and didn't hang on to it, but fortunately for him was called down, and that's a first down for Caesar Rodney.
Yeah, luckily for Caesar Rodney, that seemed like kind of a quick whistle. It would give the benefit of the doubt to the referees. They're the ones right on the spot, but really nice job by Wagenhofer. You said it right. I mean, he zipped that pass right across the middle, didn't waste any time.
And that may have been as much a stop at a forward progress as it was him actually being down. Either way, trips to the left, and Caesar Rodney has the ball first down. Wagenhofer drops back, and he wings it out, and that is knocked down by big Brandon Vinek. I apologize. I don't have the pronunciation. But it's Brandon Vinek, and he's big 6'4", 250-pound lineman.
With the size of that neck, I'm guessing he has to wear a lot of V-necks, so we'll go with that. Wagenhofer that time actually stared down the receiver out in the flat, allowing the Sally's defensive line to get their hands up and block that pass.
And so that brings up a 2nd down and 10 for Caesar Rodney. Bowie, who we haven't heard from, is lined up on the left side. We haven't even seen him in the game very much tonight for whatever reason. Wagenhofer's moving his guys around on offense. Whitted is behind him, and he gets the call up the middle and barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. Going to bring up a 3rd and 10.
He's such a strong kid, but he's just not able to get any traction right now. That Sally's defensive line is holding their positions, and the Caesar Rodney offensive line, conversely, has not been able to get much push. It's been very, very tough sledding for the Caesar Rodney running backs.
3rd and long defense trots onto the field for Sally's. Out-of-town scoreboard, Smyrna with a 48-16 lead over Appoquinimink. So Smyrna's going to go into that big showdown next week, Marty, with 2 very easy wins. Sally's is going to go in it with at least 1 tough win, and either a tough win or a tough loss tonight. It's been a tough road for Sally's tonight. 3rd and 10 for Caesar Rodney. Ball on the 25-yard line from the right hash mark, moving right to left. Wagenhofer has it, and he's brought down in the backfield, and that was big Josh Patrick, who made his way in from his linebacker position and brought Wagenhofer down at the 19-yard line.
Came from the left side of the line. Untouched was Josh Patrick. A little missed assignment there. Wagenhofer never saw him coming, and all things considered, a lot of times you see some fumbles in those situations. So all things considered, nice play for Patrick, but good for Wagenhofer not to lose the football.
So Delgado will be into punt after Caesar Rodney picked up a nice first down, but then went backwards after that. Back for Sally's is Andioli and Drake. They're standing on their 43-yard line. The kick is up, and this might be Delgado's best kick. Drake has it on the left hash mark. He's running east and west. Now he cuts it up at the 40. A missed tackle there at 35, 30. Still on his feet, and finally dragged out of bounds by Isaiah Washington, but a big return of a punt there by Michael Drake.
Really nice job by Michael Drake there. I hate to point this out, but there was a pretty obvious block in the back, and the official was not anywhere near where it happened, so not able to call it. But no matter how you slice it, a nice job by Drake. He's got great speed. He's a great athlete. he's one of those guys for Sally's. If they can get the ball in his hands, as we saw last week against Father Judge, he can do a lot of damage as well.
So Sally's has it 1st and 10 on the CR 23-yard line, just 3 yards shy of being in the red zone. A late substitution or a late guy running on the field, should say for Caesar Rodney. That's happened a couple times tonight. Gwynn is under center in the I formation. The pitch is to the left, and that's to Salvo, and he gets around the 20, and he's cut down. No, he's still on his feet. First down, Salvo. He's going to get to about the 12-yard line, and every time Salvo touches the ball, good things happen. And we have an injury on the field. That's Isaiah Washington, who is down on the field. His helmet is off, but he is moving, so that's a good thing. But it'll be a first down, Sally's, once they tend to Isaiah Washington.
Yeah, he actually had the first shot at Salvo. Not sure what the injury is there, but you're right. Salvo and Michael DiNardo, they're not real big kids, but they've been electric for Sally's every time they've touched the ball tonight. Salvo has not gotten the ball a lot, but when he has, he's made stuff happen.
All right, the CR medical staff is on the field tending to Salvo. He's actually now rolled over on his back. We're going to keep it right here. There's 4:37 to play. Sally's has a 14-0 lead, and we'll have a first down at the 12-yard line. You can hear the fans there clapping as he makes his way. Washington makes his way to the sideline. A big thanks to our newest partner, NKN Films, for their outstanding design on our 2016 high school football schedule poster featuring this year's games and our Fox Sports 10th anniversary team. Check out the poster at foxsports1290am.com and visit nknfilms.com for all your video needs. Tomorrow, UD takes on Wake Forest at 6:30, and you can hear all the action starting with the Blue Hens game day at 5:30 as Scott Klatskin and Matt Janis bring you all the action on our sister station, 94.7 WDSD. All right, Sally's is back on the field. 14-0 lead for them. Clock is running, 4:25 to play. 1st and 10, ball on the 12-yard line. I formation on the left hash mark. To give is to Merlino. No, that's Salvo up the middle. Salvo stays in the game, and he picks up about 4 yards, going to bring up a 2nd and 6.
You know, I know you made a mistake with Merlino and Salvo in there. But
they look alike.
It goes to what you were talking about. They have so many different pieces they can throw in there at any given time. They're so deep at every position, and these kids are all talented.
And they're built alike, and they run the same way, and they're quick. They're not powerful, and they're very elusive. So just really fortunate that they're as deep as they are. So it's going to bring up a 2nd and 6. Ball is on the 8-yard line, and Gwynn throws it out to the side, and coming down and being brought down is John Hahn, and it's going to actually be a loss of a couple yards there, so they tried to mix it up a little bit to no avail.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised with how well they've been running the ball. They tried to do that, but you know, Coach DiNardo he doesn't want to get too predictable here against Caesar Rodney, and I don't know. I just think they've been picking up 3, 4, 5 yards a clip on the running game. They try to get a little fancy there, and Caesar Rodney stops it.
3rd and 5 on the 7-yard line. 3:10 to play here. Sally's has a 14-0 lead. We'll see if they can punch it in the second time they've touched the ball here in the 3rd quarter. Gwynn is under center in the I formation. Hahn moves left to right. And it's a fake, a play-action pass. Gwynn rolls to his right, looks into the end zone, in and out of the hands of Peyton Mullen, and he'll tell you he should have had that
one. That's tough. That's Zach Gwynn's been victimized twice tonight. The first one was a tip to Drake, so we can kind of let that one go. This one in and out of the hands, and we've seen that with the University of Delaware a couple of times this year, so it happens to the best of them, and come back. Nice job by Zach Gwynn, though. That's something on tape the coaches are going to see. He put that ball right where it needed to be.
Cooper Irvin is going to be back on the field attempting a field goal. This one is going to be a 24-yarder. He's lined up. He's a left footer, and he's lined up about probably 5 yards to the left of the right hash mark, so a little bit straight on more than he was last time. The kick is up, and it is good. So Cooper Irvin with a 24-yard field goal gives Sally's a 17-0 lead with 2:49 to play here in the 3rd quarter. We're going to take a break. You're listening to Fox Sports 1290 Game of the Week and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Grab your business cards and get ready to be part of the biggest business mixer of the year on Wednesday, September 21st. Hi, this is Christine Sowers, President of your Better Business Bureau serving Delaware. Join your BBB and the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, along with 700 others from the business community, for a night of networking, prizes, and fun. Plus, you can test your political IQ by taking part in a straw poll. This free event at the Chase Center on September 21st is presented by Diamond State Door. For more information, visit bbb.org/Delaware. Mark your calendars today.
High school football on Fox Sports 1290, foxsports1290am.com, and iHeartRadio Fox Sports 1290.
After missing a 35-yard field goal to end the first half, Cooper Urban comes back and nails a 24-yarder to give Sallies a 17-0 lead over Caesar Rodney. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan were at Baynard Stadium with 2:49 to play. The kick is back, and Wills has it. Gets it on his own goal line, runs straight up the middle across the 10, and he's brought down. No, he's still on his feet, and it looks like they're going to give him his forward progress. They finally blow the whistle, and he finally goes down, but they're going to give him the forward progress to about the 10-yard line, which means the three starting yardages or yard lines for Caesar Rodney this half have been the 11-yard line, the 11-yard line, and now the 10-yard line. So it's safe to say the kicking end, now we've got a late flag thrown where a bunch of Caesar Rodney players were standing, so we're going to assume that's going to be a personal foul of some sort. We'll see when they sort that out here. And the referee, an unsportsmanlike against Caesar Rodney, and so that's going to back them up even further. So instead of the 10-yard line, we'll see where the referees end up spotting the ball. They're having a discussion right now, and it actually looks like Wills may have been ejected from the game.
Yeah,
he is being escorted. So, again, I'm not sure we'll know that officially. We'll see what the signal here. The ref is coming back across. We'll see if he gives us a signal. And we do not know what he did. Here's the signal. It's unsportsmanlike conduct. And it's a first down. No sign for an ejection. And, of course, we don't have a microphone. But the fact that he was escorted off the field, we'll see if he comes back. We won't try to speculate. We'll see what happens here. But Wills has been escorted off the field. He was not happy, I think, because of the lack of yardage he was able to gain, but then he also stayed on his feet, and they blew the whistle and called him down. So either way, 1st and 10 on the 5-yard line for Caesar Rodney. Wagenhofer drops back, avoids a sack in the end zone, and then manages to come up and pick up about 2 yards on the scramble.
I'm impressed tonight with Wagenhofer's presence of mind. He's actually, his presence in the pocket has gotten much better than where it was last week. And by the way, just going back to that last play, boy, Cooper Urban could really be a big weapon for this Sally's team.
Yes.
His kickoffs are pinning Caesar Rodney so deep in the second half. It's been a big part of Sally's success.
2nd and 8. Ball is on the 7-yard line. Man goes in motion. That's Daniels. The give is to Whitted up the middle. He cuts over the left tackle, loses the football, and it looks like it bounced.
It ricocheted off a Sally's player and right back into Whitted's hands. He really got lucky on that one.
Was it Whitted's hands, or it looks like getting up with the football was Brendan Holder? So maybe Brendan's hand. It could have been either. They might have called it down when Whitted had it. I'm not sure. Bottom line is Caesar Rodney has it, and that's what's most important. But it is going to bring up a 3rd down. And the ball is on the 13-yard line. They need to get past the 15-yard line. So it's 3rd and a solid 2, maybe a 2.5. 2 wide receivers out to the right. They are on the left hash mark. Wagenhofer has the snap, and he gives it to Whitted up the middle. Whitted spins off of somebody and gets across the 15-yard line. So that's going to be a 1st down for Caesar Rodney. That's a big 1st down for the Riders.
It is very. They really needed something to stem the tide here against Salesianum. And Najee Whitted is such a big kid. We've talked about it a couple times. Should note that was his 2nd fumble in as many weeks now, so that's something he's going to have to work on. He's a kid who fights for extra yardage, and when you do that, sometimes ball security can become an issue.
And we both noticed watching film that he tends to have the ball, carry the ball away from his body once he spins out of something, and that's where it is the most dangerous. So either way, 1st and 10, ball is on the 18-yard line for Caesar Rodney. Whitted is behind Wagenhofer, 2 wide receivers to the right, 1 to the left. Wagenhofer drops back. He's now being forced out to the right, whips it over the middle, intercepted by Drake at the 20, 10, 5, touchdown! Michael Drake with a 27-yard interception return for a touchdown, and just like that, it's 23-0 Sallies.
And unfortunately for Wagenhofer, he just committed the cardinal sin for any quarterback, and that's throwing late across your body to the middle of the field. all of those things together. He actually had a man open, but when you're running away, it's so hard to get enough on the ball to get it there. Drake excellently played the ball, and that's his third touchdown in 2 weeks.
And he's now scored on special teams. He's scored on offense, and he's scored on defense. He had a touchdown reception last week. He returned a kickoff return, 68 yards for a touchdown, and now what I have is a 27 yards interception score for a touchdown to give Sally's a 23-0 lead with 46 seconds left to play here in the third quarter. So that's a big blow, as you said, Marty, to Caesar Rodney. They had gotten the ball back. They had picked up a first down. They had to feel good about themselves. There was a penalty on the field. It was another unsportsmanlike conduct, I believe, against Caesar Rodney. The touchdown's good. I imagine they will walk that penalty off on the kickoff.
Yeah, things seem to be getting out of hand a little bit for Caesar Rodney. A little frustration starting to set in. They played so well in the second half, but it seems like the entire game has been played inside the 15-yard line on Caesar Rodney's side of the field so far in this second half. And that throw by Wagenhofer, it's one of those cases where a quarterback, he sees it, he thinks he can get it there. It's just far too tough a throw to make, thrown across your body late into the middle of the field.
And so Cooper Urban is going to be on to attempt the extra point. He just nailed a 24-yard field goal, and he is perfect on extra points tonight. With a hold that is Matthew Freeze. The kick is up, and the lefty puts it through. So with 46 seconds left to play, we'll take a break. It's Salesianum 24, Caesar Rodney 0. You're listening to Fox Sports 1290, Game of the Week, and watching it live on 302 Sports.
Hello, Alan Thicke here. Stop me if you've heard this one. Actually, don't. It's important. Last year, when people fell behind in their tax payments, they called Optima Tax Relief and took advantage of the Fresh Start initiative. Well, this year, Optima has raised the bar with their Protection Plus Clean Slate program. Pay the IRS the minimum amount, not a penny more. Optima, they're number one, A-rated at the Better Business Bureau. Optima Tax Relief is the one you need.
Call 800-936-9033. 800-936-9033.
Optima Tax Relief. From 2007 to 2016, 10 seasons of high school football on Fox Sports 1290 and foxsports1290am.com.
John Busby along with Marty Sheehan back at Baynard Stadium, where Salesianum is pulling away 24-0, 46 seconds left to play here in the third quarter. A 27-yard interception return for a touchdown by Michael Drake, his third touchdown of the season, followed by a Cooper Urban extra point, gives the Sal's that 24-0 lead.
And by the way, Smyrna now is up 64-16 in the fourth quarter against Appoquinimink. So it should be interesting when we head down there next week. Smyrna is coming off, as you said, 2 blowout wins. Sally's has really had to fight for their 2. Taking into consideration they still have a little bit to play here tonight, but things are starting to turn in their favor.
I think if you ask the both coaches, Bill Denardo would tell you he'd rather have it this way with
Absolutely,
2 tough wins.
I agree.
Again, he hasn't won this one yet, but if he does, it'll be 2 tough ones. The kick is up, and it's out of the end zone. The kick was from the 50-yard line because of the unsportsmanlike penalty after the last touchdown by Michael Drake. All right, coming up on the Concord Pets Food and Supplies postgame show, we'll recap the ball game, announce our Crown Trophy player of the game, and look ahead to next Friday's game of the week. It's all coming up right after the game on Concord Pet Foods and Supply post-game show. Caesar Rodney is going to actually have the best field position they've had in this second half, starting at their own 20-yard line with just 46 seconds left to play here in the third quarter. Their previous field position was the 11-yard line, and the 5-yard line. So even though they're down 24-0, they've got to be happy that at least they're starting at the 20-yard line. Wagenhofer is in, 2 guys in the backfield. We have not seen Wills back in the game since he was escorted by the referee, so we are kind of assuming he has been ejected from the game. Bowie is out to the left. There's substitution confusion once again, as there has been a couple times today, and it forces Caesar Rodney to take their second timeout. We're going to keep it right here, and I'm going to tell you about Relay for Life. They're happening everywhere, and I wanted to point out one that is special to me because a former neighbor and a good friend of mine is the one that's running it, and that's the one being held at Bank of America's Field of Dreams in Newark on Friday, September 23rd. There's going to be bands and food trucks and lots of fun activities for folks of all ages. You don't even have to walk if you don't want to. Just come out and make a donation of any amount to enjoy all there is to offer. And good news, Marty, it's open till 1 a.m. So that means you and I can get there unless the Smyrna game goes into quadruple overtime, because we're going to be down in Smyrna. But all kidding aside, don't let that 1 a.m. thing scare you. There's a lot of family activities that will be going on all night. It's the Relay for Life at Bank of America's Field of Dreams on September 23rd. All right, Caesar Rodney has their lineup straightened out. They're on the field, 1st and 10 on the 20-yard line. 3 guys in the backfield along with Wagenhofer. Bushweller is behind him, and alongside him is Bailey Diatley, whose name we've called a couple times. And Wagenhofer drops back, and he whips it over the middle, has his man, and he's tripped up there at about the 27-yard line. That was Diatley making the catch.
Nice job by Diatley. Nice job by Wagenhofer. Another one of those quick hitters out of the backfield. Coming across the middle of the field was Diatley. That's what Caesar Rodney's going to have to do to start clawing their way back in here. They're not going to be able to just run against the Sally's line.
2nd and 2 ball on the 28, and it's almost a must-score situation here with 18 seconds left to play, trailing by 24. Wagenhofer's back in the shotgun. He gets the ball. He's being chased, and he's sacked in the backfield, taken down by Joseph Gormley, and it's going to take them back to about where their original line of scrimmage was, 1 yard shy, actually, of that at the 19-yard line.
And credit that sack to the Sally's defensive backfield. Wagenhofer actually had time. The Caesar Rodney line did a really good job of picking up the blitz, but it lasted so long, the coverage in the defensive backfield, that Gormley was able to get to Wagenhofer.
All right, that's going to bring us to the end of the third quarter. When we come back, Caesar Rodney's going to try to put up the first points of their season. They trail Sally's 24-0. You're listening to the Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290 AM, and you're watching it live on 302 Sports.
Now for the 62nd DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Football Game on June 17th at Delaware Stadium. Be part of this Delaware tradition that works to change the perceptions of people living with intellectual challenges and enrich the lives of Delawareans with intellectual disabilities. Enjoy the game that brings together football players, cheerleaders, band 50 Delaware high schools. It's so much more than one night and one game. Blue Gold All-Star Football Game today at dfrc.org.
Welcome back to the Delaware High School Football Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290.
They've walked to the other side of the field where Caesar Rodney's going to have the ball 3rd and 11 at their own 19-yard line. After a big pickup, they went backwards on a sack, and so they are 1 yard behind where they started this drive at their 20-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd and 11 at the 19. Though now moving left to right or north to south, we are in the home press box, and they've done some renovations here, Marty, and the visitors press box, where a lot of media people hang out, no longer is.
No, it isn't. It's wide open. You have some of the coaches sitting up there.
Wagenhofer drops back. The blitz is on, and he's going to be taken down. That was Joseph Gormley again taking Wagenhofer down, and that's going to bring up a 4th down for Caesar Rodney.
And on 3rd and long, if you're Coach DiNardo, that's exactly what you want to see. They just pin their ears back. The linebackers blitz, and they were able to take down Wagenhofer. Just not enough time to set up and look for someone there.
So Andy Oley and Drake will drop back on the Caesar Rodney 45, waiting for the punt of Joe Delgado. Delgado's had a busy couple weeks, Marty.
Yes, he has. He's getting a sure workout for his leg here. Not what you want to see if you're Coach Candeloro.
And it's not going to get any easier for Caesar Rodney to go and play Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. Actually, Glen Mills out of Pennsylvania is traveling down to Camden, Wyoming. The kick is away toward the sidelines, and I think that's a good move, not let these quick Sally's returners return it. Ball is out of bounds. It skips through the bench there of Caesar Rodney. It looks like they're going to mark it at the 36-yard line of Caesar Rodney. So Sally's is going to start off with excellent field goal position.
And, just an update on a game that's a potential big upset. Milford now leads DMA 16-0 at the end of the third quarter.
Wow.
And if you'd have told me that DMA would travel down there and be shut out through 3 quarters, I would not have believed you.
Milford, trying to make a comeback after a couple down years. They won a state championship. I want to say it was 2008, the same year that Caesar Rodney did. Don't quote me on that, but I think at that. And since then, it's been all downhill, so it's good to see that small-town program come back. The give is up the middle by Sally's. Looks like a couple subs in. That's Liam Malvina getting the carry. He's going to pick up about 2 yards before he's brought down.
Yeah, and it looks like we may start to see, I don't want to say take your foot off the gas if you're Coach DiNardo, but maybe start of just run the ball. I don't think we're going to see any razzle-dazzle or big pass plays from Sally's from this point on. This is an opportunity to work the offense, run the ball, take some time off the clock, and try to get out. You don't want to risk any injury at this point in the game. A 24-point lead, and your opponent really hasn't been able to move the football.
And they've got to play Smyrna next week.
Yes.
Second, and we'll call it 8. Ball is on the 34-yard line. I formation. 2 wide receivers out to the right. Ball is right in the middle of the field, and they give it to DiNardo. Swings around and takes a handoff and picks up about 2 yards.
That is the first time that Michael DiNardo hasn't broken it for about 10 yards. Nice job by the Caesar Rodney defense. But again, nothing real fancy here from Salesianum, just running up the middle. They did have DiNardo come across from the split end position to take that handoff, but you're going to see a lot of clock working at this point.
This is a Caesar Rodney club that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2013 when they lost to Middletown in the semis. I was on the sideline at that game as we were scouting for the championship game, and they had quite a run. I want to say they were in 4 straight state tournament semifinals, and so they've struggled recent years. And a quick out there, and the pass is complete to Desmond Bagley, and he's brought down at the 28-yard line.
Nice job by Bagley there. Looks like he's going to be a little bit short of the first down. Bring it about 4th and 1, I would say. Nice job by the Salesianum offense. Another quick hit there, this time from Zach Gwynn. And you might see some short passing from Salesianum to try to get some of the kinks worked out in Gwynn's game. He's actually done a really good job of managing things tonight.
He has. And I was just going to say, Bagley's one of those kids that probably starts on a lot of other teams.
Absolutely,
in the state of Delaware. But when you've got Mullen and you've got Merlino and you've got Stradley and you've got Salvo, tough to break in. Kid's only a junior, though, so we'll see what happens here. 4th and 1, they're going for it. DiNardo comes in motion, and the give is up the middle, and it's a first down. That's Liam Mulvaney barreling his way, and he picks up much more than the yard. It's going to take it down to the 19-yard line, 1st and 10 in the red zone for Sally's.
And Liam Mulvaney there, the offensive line just absolutely blew Caesar Rodney off the ball. They knocked them 5 yards back, the Caesar Rodney defensive line. If you're an offensive line, you absolutely love this point of the game. Your job is just to blow your guy off the best you can and pick up some positive yards. They don't like the pass blocking as much as they do knocking back the defender.
2 wide receivers out to the right, 1st and 10, and the give is to Peyton Mullen up the middle, and a really nice tackle there by Patrick Tack. Brought down there at the 20-yard line, going to actually lose about a yard.
Tack did a nice job there to hold on because Mullen is such a strong kid. I love how he puts 2 hands on the football at the first point of contact as well. If you're Coach DiNardo, you got to love seeing that on film because he's one of the kids with the game. You're trying to salt away a game in the end. He's one of the kids you want to get the ball to.
8:07 to play, 24-0 Sally's over CR. The ball's now on the right hash mark, and it's 2nd and 11 on the 20-yard line. DiNardo goes in motion from right to left, and the give is to Mulvaney again, and he is tackled by William Burke among a host of Caesar Rodney riders.
Nice job by the Caesar Rodney defense. No quit in this team. Coach Candelaro makes sure of that as he tries to bring this program back where it was, like you said a little while ago, it was one of the premier programs in the state for a long time. They would love to get back there. Again, this switch from the wing tee, and that's tough. You've got a whole culture down there that grew up on the wing tee. The junior football was playing it. I mean, everybody was playing that style.
And I got a comment about that I'll make after this 3rd down play, 3rd and 10, ball on the 19-yard line, I formation, and Mulvaney is the back. He drops back. That's Gwynn. He flings it to the end zone, looking for Bagley. Incomplete. Going to bring up a 4th down. We'll see if it's Cooper Urban time or whether they're going to go for it on 4th and down. The story I had is I was watching the William Penn St. George's game, and Frank Moffitt hailed me down. I went over to chat with him, the head coach of Hodson, and he's from Caesar Rodney. He graduated from Caesar Rodney High School, and he was talking about that, and he said, people are born with wing T and their DNA down there. And he wasn't questioning anything what's going on. He was more or less making a point that, it's kind of like when Delaware went away from the wing T. Whoever thought that would happen.
Yep.
All right, 4th and 10 for Sally's. Gwynn under center in the I formation. Mullen is the up back. Mulvaney is in behind him, and the blitz is on, and a nice tackle there by Patrick Tack again. Now the ball is still loose. A fumble is picked up by Washington, and they're going to say that Gwynn wasn't down. for everybody's surprised.
Yeah, I clearly thought he was down. Nice job by Patrick Tackett to get in there and stop that so Gwynn couldn't get anywhere. I clearly thought it was down. Isaiah Washington, to his credit, picked up the ball and took off with it. So a nice job for Caesar Rodney. I'll tell you this, I am surprised we didn't see Cooper Urban there, only because it seemed like a perfect opportunity to get a kid like Urban a chance at a longer field goal.
Yeah, and almost the same range he tried in the first half. But anyway, the fumble there by Gwynn. Turned over. Nice job, as you said, Marty. Washington, they tell you, play through the whistle, and everybody in the stadium thought the ball was down except him. The handoff is up the middle. That's Whitted, and he barrels around the left side, gets the edge, and a flag comes flying from the 40-yard line on the other side. We'll see what that's all about. I think Whitted is going to be about a yard shy of the first down. He got pushed out of bounds around the 44-yard line, but we'll see what this flag does.
That play really sums up how he runs. That was all downhill. He did a really nice job, but, of course, it's all for naught. A holding penalty will bring that back.
That's CR's fourth penalty of the day. They only had one penalty in the first half. That's their third here in the second half. We've probably had 3 or 4 penalties on both teams that have been declined, which is
true.
Unusual
Very
at the
odd.
high school
Yes,
level. I'm trying to think if we had 4 declined all of last year when we were together in the broadcast booth. Anyway, the penalty is from the spot of the hold in high school, and so it's going to bring the ball back to the 32-yard line and make it a first down, and let's call it 13 from the 37-yard line is where they brought it back to.
And tough, because that was Whitted's best run of the night, I thought.
Wagenhofer's under center. He's got a wide receiver out to the right and the left. Man goes in motion. That's Daniels, and instead they fake it to Daniels, give it up the middle to Whitted, and he's going to get back to about the line of scrimmage, going to bring up a 2nd and 10.
That's an interesting call. I'm not sure what they were looking to gain there. It was more a straight-off handoff right up the middle. They did have the play fake to the split end coming across, but I think at this point, if you're Coach Candelora, you desperately want to get on that scoreboard so you have something to build on going into next week.
Yeah, remember, this is a team that got shut out last week. Their highlight of last week was that 55-yard kickoff return that didn't get into the end zone.
Right.
And then they ended up turning the ball over on downs there. So this is a team, this is an offense that desperately needs to score. Trips out to the right, 2nd and 10, ball on the 35-yard line. Whitted is behind Wagenhofer. Wagenhofer drops back. He's looking to his right, and he's getting pressure, and he's going to be brought down, and that's going to be another sack for this Sally's defense. Looks like a late guy coming in for Sally's, but it was after the whistle, and it's going to bring up a 3rd and 12 for Caesar Rodney. Wagenhofer a little slow getting up, and you can understand why.
He's taking a lot of punishment again tonight. I just want to point out again to sing the praises of the Sally's defensive backfield. They've done such a nice job that even when Wagenhofer does get a little bit of time, he hasn't been able to find anybody. And by the time, give him 2 or 3 seconds back there after he gets set, that defensive line is all over him. So a really good job by Sally's.
They've taken Wagenhofer out. He definitely limped off. Looks like he was holding his shoulder a little bit. And that brings in Jacob Mollahan, a senior backup quarterback, and he's going to hand the ball off to Whitted, and Whitted gets crunched in the backfield, and that's going to be a loss. And I think that was Casey Spink who put the hit on Whitted.
Yeah, that was a big-time collision. Irresistible force meets the immovable object. And that time Caesar Rodney came out on the short end. Whitted has had another really tough kid. He's had a tough night. He's taken a lot of punishment again the last 2 weeks. He's a big part of their offense. You can see the talent. They're just going to need to put it all together.
Delgado is in to punt. Dropping back for Sally's, as they have all night, is John Andioli and Mike Drake. They're standing on their own 45-yard line. 4:25 to play. Salesianum with a 24-0 lead. A bounce snap. Delgado does a beautiful job, as he has all night, handling a couple errant snaps, and he kicks it out of bounds, not giving Sally's a chance to return it. We'll see where they mark it here. The refs are working together, as they do when the ball goes out of bounds, and they stop it right on the Caesar Rodney 49-yard line. So Sally's, once again, is going to start in Caesar Rodney position with a 24-0 lead here with 4:17 left to play.
It's going to be tough if they don't get into the end zone tonight. This week of practice is going to be a tough one, getting shut out your first 2 games of the season. Granted, they're against 2 of the better teams in the state, but still there's a level of frustration there about not getting in the end zone.
And so Gwynn is under center in the I formation. Behind him is Salvo, no, it's not Salvo. That is DiNardo playing in the backfield for the first time all tonight, and he's done what he's done when he's going in motion, and that's picked up a lot of yardage, and it looks like he got about 6 yards on that play.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen DiNardo light up in the tailback position, and again, he did what he's done all night long. He picks up 8 to 10 yards. He gets about, looks like 6 or 7 there. A really, really fast kid who hits the hole very quickly.
And actually, that was my mistake. That was Michael Leonard. 7 looked like a 1, and again, the kids look just like just like each other. And so, but we want to give a props where it's due. That was Michael Leonard getting his first action of the night for Sally's, and he got quite a few touches last week.
Yes,
he was one of the kids I had marked down on my sheet here. So either way, it's 2nd and 4. Ball is on the 44-yard line. Leonard is lined up to the left. Man goes in motion, and that handoff there and brought down is Joseph Wesselman. And a nice job there by the Caesar Rodney defense reading that play.
Really nice job by linebacker Joshua Windsor, a junior, who read that all the way and just jumped that before it ever had a chance to get going. If you're Coach Candelora, there's things at this time of the game that you look for, and that's one of them. You don't want to see any quitting your team. You want to see them going all out. Some kids who may not get a ton of playing time, there's some different kids that are in there now for both teams, and getting an opportunity to show what they can do.
And what's nice about this rebuilding for Caesar Rodney is you look over on that sideline, they've got almost as many kids as Sally's
They have a lot of kids. I was surprised, yeah.
And so there's always somebody ready to step in and take your place, and that's going to be an illegal motion. I'm not sure why the flag wasn't thrown, but anyway, the handoff is up the middle, and that's to Joseph Wesselman again, and he's brought down, loses about a yard. Everybody was looking for the flag.
Even the referee took it out of his pocket and held it up, and just, I guess he said, you know what, it's 24-0. It's late. Let's get out of here.
He said the Sally's split end definitely moved forward before he was supposed to, and he didn't reset. But either way, it's going to bring up a 4th down, 2:32 to play. Sally's with a 24-0 lead, and it looks like Bill DiNardo is sending on his punting unit. Something they did quite a bit in the second quarter, but haven't had to do at all yet here in the second half.
You know, if you're Coach DiNardo, you have got to be thrilled with the way your team responded after halftime. A really tough first half against Caesar Rodney. You're only up 7-0. And even though they haven't gone out hog wild like a Smyrna team, but they put 17 points on the board. They've been methodical. Defensively, they did a great job. Special teams, Cooper Urban pinned Caesar Rodney back 3 consecutive times, which basically resulted in all the points through one way or another. And just been a really strong second half all around for Sally's.
Benny Pinella, our producer back in the studio, sending us some finals. Elkton has defeated Caravel 28-0, so the Bucks start out 0-2 against 2 Division I teams, basically.
Yes.
Newark, Barry Zender, congratulations, picking up his first win as the head coach of the Yellow Jackets with a 17-3 win over Mount Pleasant, and Milford now leads DMA 24-0. So Cooper Urban is into punt from his own 40-yard line. And the lefty gets it away, and it's a nice spiraling kick that CR is going to let bounce. It takes a CR bounce and bounces back, and Sally's falls on it. That is big number 75, Josh Williams. So Caesar Rodney will take over the ball at the 24-yard line, which gives them an opportunity to see if they can march here 75 yards. They've got 2:21 to play. Remember, the CR team has not scored yet this season. So Dan Candelora would like nothing more than to see this offense punch something in, even though at this point the game is over for all intents and purposes.
You know what? The Sally's defense still has a lot of starters in there. You get the feeling they don't want to lose this shutout. They want to use this momentum going into the Smyrna game.
And we'll have that Smyrna game next week. Pregame show at 6:30, kickoff at 7. We'll talk more about that in the postgame show. And it's flung over the middle and incomplete. They were looking for Peyton Lavender there. Jacob Mollahan is still in the game, so my guess is Wagenhofer. Hopefully he's okay. And, again, there's no sense putting him back in at this point in the game.
I would hope this is precautionary. There's nothing to be gained by throwing him out there right now. And, just a kind of funny stat for you. Smyrna now in 2 games has scored 120 points.
Wow. You mean the basketball team?
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, they have picked up right where they left off last season.
2nd and 10. Scoreboard says ball on the 23. I think it's closer to the 22, so we'll go with that. Mollahan is in the shotgun position. It looked like they moved early, but I guess not. Instead, the handoff is underneath, and that is to Bailey Diatley, and he's hauled down behind the line of scrimmage.
We haven't seen one of those slow developing plays for Caesar Rodney in a while. That was one, and Sally's was all over. That's one thing. you won't see next week most likely with Smyrna. They get the ball out of the backfield very quickly, whether it's Henderson throwing, their new running back, in addition to Will Knight, I believe the young man's name is Letty, the new running back they have. He scored some touchdowns. He had a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown tonight. So they are loaded offensively. It's going to be interesting to see how the stout Sally's defense fares against them.
3rd and 16, ball in the 17, 24-0. Sally's over CR, minute 30 to play here. CR hoping to salvage something out of this trip north. Drops back, and he wings it over the middle. This time, Mollahan has Lavender, and Lavender's brought down. Going to be shy of the first down. Going to be brought down at the 27-yard line. So Mollahan to Lavender, they finally hooked up. That was a nice throw and catch.
That was a nice throw and catch. I was just going to say that's the kind of little thing at this point you need to kind of hang your hat on and use it going forward. This is stuff in the film room that you're going to want to see if you're Candeloro. Yeah, the Caesar Rodney offense, there's a lot going on. They just haven't mastered it yet.
And they're going to go for it. 52 seconds to play, 4th and about 6. And they figure if they don't get it, Sally's will just take a knee. And instead it's fumbled. A big hit there in the backfield. Caesar Rodney did get it back, but they're going to turn the ball over on down. So fortunately, Jacob Mollahan got up. He got nailed.
He really took a blindside hit there. Yeah. This is, say, hey, leave me in the backup position. I'm good. He actually looked like he had a receiver over the middle. He pump faked and just got blasted from the blind side. Hope the kid's okay. Again, Wagenhofer's out, we hope, for what's precautionary reasons, just to save him from any more punishment tonight.
So Sally's is going to start inside the red zone again, and I don't want to assume, but there's 40 seconds left, and Caesar Rodney certainly isn't going to try to stop the clock. I'm not sure. Maybe they run one play, get the ball to somebody, a senior or something like that.
The middle, maybe, yeah.
And see what happens. They do have a new quarterback in there. That's Matthew Freeze, the senior, so he gets an opportunity to take a snap here in live action. Man goes in middle from right to left, and the give is going to be underneath, and he's racked up there.
Neatly up the middle, and
4-0. Game we have next week when these Sals head south to Smyrna for what many are calling the regular season game of the year. Once again, your final score: Salesianum 24, Caesar Rodney nothing. You're listening to the Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290 and watching it live on 302 Sports. We'll be right back.
It's hard to miss all the TV lawyer ads. Catchy slogans surround promises of maximum recovery and fighting for your rights. Hi, this is Melissa Rufo of Rufo Associates. We have decades of experience successfully handling injury claims. Our track record with auto accidents, slip and falls, and defective products cases is second to none. We let our results be our slogan. Nobody wants to need a lawyer, but if the need arises, don't take any chances. Get a strong advocate on your side. You need Rufo Associates. Visit rufolaw.com. That's RUFO law.com.
Crown Trophy of Glasgow and Wilmington are excited to announce our new varsity letter sport balls in football, basketball, baseball, and softball. These are real sport balls that are professionally embroidered and individualized for the athlete. They can also be used for championship game recognition as the championship game ball. These sports balls make a great gift and are an amazing way to showcase your varsity letter and achievement. Make sure to get your varsity letter sport ball at Crown Trophy of Glasgow and Wilmington. Visit crowntrophy.com.
America was built by people with a few dollars.
From Royal Pest. Are rodents running rampant in your warehouse? A problem that no one has been able to solve? Mice and rats are tough, and they can be very smart in learning how to avoid traps while they ravage your product. Call Royal Pest. Royal Pest has a history of success protecting food and other products in warehouses, silos, mills, and other facilities up and down the East Coast. Royal Pest. Planet-friendly solutions to your pest problems.
Welcome to the Concord Pet Foods and Supplies postgame show on Fox Sports 1290. Brought to you by Concord Pet Foods and Supplies. With 29 locations in the area, there's bound to be a Concord pet near you. ConcordPetFoods.com.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium, where Salesianum has defeated the Caesar Rodney Riders 24-0 in a game that got off to a slow start for both teams, and then Salesianum took over in the second half. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan, Benny Pinella back in the studio, And we are also live on 302 Sports for this post-game show. It's a game that lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes. Caesar Rodney records fall to 0-2. Salesianum now 2-0. Getting ready to head into Smyrna next week and face the 2-0 Smyrna Eagles. Scoring rundown for tonight. Wasn't much in the first half. Sally's getting the only score when Nick Merlino rumbled in from 3 yards out with 29 seconds left to play. Left to play in the first quarter. Cooper Urban's extra point made it 7-0. There was no scoring in the second quarter. A lot of punts and one fumble by Salesianum's Peyton Mullen, and other than that, there was not much action. Then in the second half, coming out of the locker room, Caesar Rodney went 3 and out, and the Sals took over on their own 23-yard line, and an 11-yard touchdown run by Nick Merlino made it 14-0 after Cooper Urban booted in the kick. Caesar Rodney punted on their next possession. The Sals took it back over, and Cooper Urban nailed a 24-yard field goal to put his team up 17-0. And then on the very next possession, a pick six by Michael Drake, 27-yard touchdown run after the interception, followed by the extra point by Cooper Urban, made it 24-0. And for Michael Drake, that was his third touchdown of the season. He scored on a reception last week, a kickoff return, and now an interception return. There was no scoring in the fourth quarter by either team, and that brought us to our final of 24-0. Marty, your thoughts on the game?
For Sally's, there's a lot to build on heading into Smyrna next week. They played a very, very tough team last week in Father Judge. They gutted out a 16-13 win. They came in tonight and they really struggled in the first half, and that, I think you alluded to it earlier, may have been one of the best things that could have happened to them. They didn't come out here and blow through Caesar Rodney. So in 2 weeks, they've played 2 tough games. They had to fight their way through the second half. They got some special teams breaks in the second half with some nice kicks by Cooper Urban. So I think they're really positioned well going forward. Their defense looks great. For Caesar Rodney, it's another step of another game, learning that wing T spread, slash spread offense that they're trying to run now. There were some positives. Najee Whitted is a good runner. I think Wagenhofer has potential to be a good quarterback. He looks good. He makes good decisions. He's just not getting a lot of time to do anything. They have some good athletes. They're just not able to get them the ball because of the defensive pressure. So they've played 2 of the best teams in the state. They haven't been able to score, but there's definitely some positives on film to build from.
And I think it's one of those situations where the coaches are going to look back at the end of the season and look at each of these halves with a positive spin. For Caesar Rodney, they played with one of the best teams. Some would say the best team in the state. We'll find out next week. Really toe-to-toe and blow-to-blow in the first half on their turf. And then for Dan Candelora is going to look at that first half as a very positive.
Absolutely.
Bill DiNardo is going to look at the second half because his team did not play like he expected in the first half, and credit Caesar Rodney for a lot of that as well. But Bill DiNardo, I think, is going to tell his team, if he hasn't already, how proud he is that they came out in the second half and they played Salesianum football. And that's what they need to do, and that's what they're going to need to do next week when they come up against a Smyrna offense that has scored 100 and some points.
120-16, they've outscored their first 2 opponents. So
unbelievable.
Sally's has their hands full.
Oh, all right. Next week, Caesar Rodney hosts Glen Mills from Pennsylvania. They'll try to not only score their first points, but hopefully pick up their first win for their sake. Salesianum travels to Smyrna in a game we'll cover here on Fox Sports and 302 Sports. All right, when we come back, we'll announce the Crown Trophy player of the game and talk about our next game here on Fox Sports 1290. You're listening to the High School Football Game of the Week on Fox Sports 1290 and iHeartRadio, and watching it live on 302 Sports.
If your child ever asks, where do sandwiches come from, tell them the truth. Look them straight in the eyes and tell them, sandwiches come from Arby's. And if they ask where the loaded Italian and its many meats come from, kindly respond, what part of Arby's didn't you understand, Giuseppe? The loaded Italian sandwich. Arby's, we have the meats.
Time flies. I could practically tell my life story in t-shirts. I designed them all online with custom ink. My travel softball team jersey, senior year homecoming hoodie, all my family vacations. Even my wedding favors snuck in here. Guess I'm gonna need a bigger drawer.
Celebrate your next event with custom group shirts, apparel, and more from Custom Ink. Designing is fun and easy. For all of life's events, choose Custom Ink. Your designs, quality products, free shipping. Start designing today at customink.com.
Mark your calendars now for the 62nd DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Football Game on June 17th at Delaware Stadium. Be part of this Delaware tradition that works to change the perceptions of people living with intellectual challenges and enrich the lives of Delawareans with intellectual disabilities. Enjoy the game that brings together football players, cheerleaders, band members, and buddies from more than 50 Delaware high schools. It's so much more than one night and one game. Help support the DFRC Blue Gold All-Star Football Game today at dfrc.org.
Welcome back to the Concord Pet Foods and Supplies postgame show on Fox Sports 1290.
Welcome back to Baynard Stadium, where Salesianum has started to walk back to their school from one of the most historic stadiums, probably the most historic stadium here in the state of Delaware. John Busby along with Marty Sheehan, Benny Pinella back in the studio, and we're proud to be the voices of 302 Sports this season as well. It's now time for the Crown Trophy Player of the Game. Crown Trophy in Glasgow and Wilmington has always been proud supporters of Fox Sports 1290 and the student athletes in the state of Delaware. Visit Crown Trophy for all the best in trophies, and make sure to check out their all-new varsity letter sports balls. Continuing with the Crown Trophy tradition, each player of the game this season will win a customized Crown Trophy award plaque, and the school will receive one as well for its trophy case. Visit crowntrophy.com. Marty, you get the honors every week to pick our Crown Trophy player of the game.
You know, Sally's had a number of performers that did well tonight. I thought Peyton Mullen did well. Cooper Urban really showed me something on kickoffs. He pinned them deep in there, Caesar Rodney, deep in their own territory. Michael Drake with another touchdown. He scored 3 different ways this season. But for me, I'm going to go with Nick Merlino. 2 touchdowns that got Sally's to a 14-0 lead. And every time he touched the ball, he made something happen. Between him and Michael DiNardo, they're not the biggest kids, but they've got some quickness. They're able to make things happen, and that's the mark of a good football player. So the Crown Trophy player of the game is Nick Merlino.
Congratulations to Nick Merlino, and thanks again for Crown Trophy's continued support of our coverage here on Fox Sports 1290. All right, next Friday night, we're traveling south to make our first ever appearance. 10 years we've been doing this. First ever appearance at Smyrna High School. They got a new stadium, a couple years old. I hear the press box is great. I assume that means we're either going to have air conditioning if we need it or heat if we need it, one or the other. At least that's what I'm going to think it is. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff and a rematch of last year's state championship game between Sally's and Smyrna. Last year, here at Baynard Stadium, those teams scored 132 points in a game won by Sally's, and then, of course, Smyrna got its revenge in the state title game with an overtime win to capture their first ever football state championship. They're expecting a sellout crowd for what many are calling the biggest game of the regular season, and the good news is we'll have all the action for you right here on Fox Sports 1290 and live on 302 Sports. Our coverage begins with the Glasgow Medical Aid Unit's pregame show at 6:30, followed by kickoff at 7. That's going to do it for tonight. A big thanks to our producer, Benny Pinella, for keeping us up and running back in the Fox Sports 1290 studio, and to Nick Halliday and his crew from 302 Sports on site here with us at Baynard Stadium. For Marty Sheehan, I'm John Busby. Once again, the final score, Salesianum 24, Caesar Rodney 0. From here at Baynard Stadium in Wilmington, until next week from Smyrna, have a great sports week.
This has been the Delaware High School football game of the